Hey guys and welcome back to my channel. This is part 1 of What If Naruto was in RWBY. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and also go and support the author, link in description. Naruto. 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 Ha! A loud thud is heard, produced by the body of a child of about 13 years old. His blonde hair and blue eyes contrasted with the 3 mustache marks he had on each cheek. You might think he's a faun, but he doesn't have any other characteristics, just that. Well, coming to the important part. Naruto, wake up, you have to go, you'll be late. Said young man was called Naruto. There wasn't much more to say about him, only that he was a little short for his age, but it didn't matter, he made up for it with his enthusiasm and his monstrous strength, even though he didn't look like it. What time is it? It's 8 in the morning. You have to get up, have breakfast and leave before it's too late. You can't miss it. Quote. Yes, you're right, I have to go before something bad happens. Normally something very strange would happen this morning, but today I'm very lucky. I think I'll finally have my moment. The young man rubbed his eyes, he had to go. Yes, but you get used to it. Well, anyway, thank you very much, Carlos. I have to go, it was a pleasure meeting you this month, that you have taken care of me. I have a lot to say, that you have a beautiful house and a beautiful wife. And an incredibly beautiful daughter. Hey, don't come near my daughter. I didn't try anything, I didn't get close to your daughter. I'm just highlighting that she is beautiful. Quote. I'll miss you, brat. Come visit us if you pass by here on the way. Yes, I'll miss you too. Don't worry, I'll go sometime. Well, I'm leaving. This is how the morning passed. Actually, this boy, Naruto, will tell us a story, possibly finding something in his new life without purpose. Now we will start at the beginning. Well, I have to go. In reality, Naruto has nowhere to go, he just wanders around, walking between towns and nothing else. It's what he's done for months. He told Carlo that he had to leave because he had to do some things in another town, but that is a lie. He simply didn't want to take advantage of this man's kindness anymore. Well, what do we do now? Things in this time here have been relatively simple, more boring than simple, but I can't ask for more. Well, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, former ninja of the Leaf Village, and I came here because of an uncontrollable or inevitable battle against my partner Sasuke Uchiha. In fact, it was very difficult. He tried to kill me, but when I got here, I don't know how I got here. I just know that everything turned white and I ended up in this place. A very different place from mine, where people don't use chakra or ninjutsu, but instead have other forms of power and technology. A place where there are many things that I don't understand, but that also make me curious. A place where maybe I can find a new path. A family found me lying in the forest near a crater, they took me in and fed me until I recovered. In fact, I recovered very quickly considering my injuries, that was what surprised them. I will never forget that family. They were incredibly good. His son looked a lot like me, so much so that he was scary, he was only missing his mustaches and he was like my brother. When I realized that this world was not mine, I took it as an opportunity to start over, without anyone controlling me or giving me orders. I felt totally free. The language was not an obstacle, because it was the same as I spoke, only with a different writing, but I learned it in a short time. So that problem was solved. However, the work was more complicated than I expected. I was a ninja, I could do anything, but the only job that accepted someone like me, an assassin or something like that, was that of a hunter. But for that you needed a license that I did not have, and it was illegal to pretend to be one. The only option was to study in an academy, but I had never set foot in one. And sure, I could have pretended, but then they would have to search for me in the systems and technically I don't exist, so I didn't take the risk, I just did small D-rank jobs, you know, taking care of a pet, walking pets, trimming the garden, build certain structures such as houses. And so time went by, I went from town to town doing the few jobs they gave me and earning a living. Yes, it's a bit disappointing for a ninja, but it's peaceful and the best thing is that I don't have to put my life in danger, although I miss the thrill of a fight and rarely get a decent one. Naruto does not give up on his training, even though he knows that the world is very big and that there can be incredibly powerful people anywhere. However, without a teacher to guide him, he only dedicates himself to improving what he already knows. Taijutsu, chakra control and other movements that he possesses, making them stronger than they already were. Well, I will continue walking, what will await me in the next town? He tells himself optimistically, although in reality he is lost. I am lost, I don't know what to do, the purpose of life was taken away from me when I got here, I continue fighting to defend those who cannot defend themselves, but what else can I do? Keep living. He sighed, the blonde, his spirits plummeting, not that he had much to begin with. Well, what is this? It's another town. Let's see, what's its name? This is the town of the wall, what a peculiar name, he said. Well, now let's go in. He was incredibly shocked by this place, as he was completely devastated. Grim, who else could do this kind of destruction? Just them, he thought. So he searched hoping to find any survivors and take them with him to one of the great kingdoms, but Naruto found nothing. Everything was devastated, incredibly destroyed, there were people's limbs scattered everywhere. Well, I have to continue. I can't. What am I doing? What am I doing? I have to try a little harder. Since when have I become insensitive to all this? I have to continue searching. Hey, there's someone there. Please. He shouted with all his might, but nothing. He continued searching. 2 days passed, he did not find any survivors. He was surprised that there were no hunters. He assumed it was inevitable. There weren't many hunters and not all of them could be everywhere. Well, I will take advantage of this situation and look for supplies. As he explored the ruins of the town, he found a store that seemed to have some canned food and bottled water. I know that you can't save everyone, but sometimes I regret all this. I wonder if there is anyone else who has escaped this massacre. Well, it's been 10 days since this incident. What happened in the town? Like all the other towns devastated by the Grim, he would be forgotten and wait for nature to take back what was taken from him. Naruto wondered if he would ever find a place to belong, where he could be happy, where he could smile again. But for now, all he had to do was continue walking, aimlessly, without a clear destination, just hoping that something would change. I walk aimlessly, but I don't feel that I have a life. I can't even enjoy the beauty that surrounds me. What can I do? I'm so broken. It's been so long. I should have healed by now. But no, I'm still the same. It's so pitiful. Who would have thought? Me, Naruto, the one who never gave up in the face of adversity, ended up like this, defeated. But look, I have no idea what to do. I wish something or someone would give me a reason to go on, but that wouldn't last. All that happiness that I radiated and all that courage that I showed turned into this apathetic and idle personality that I have now. I wish I could go back to the way I was before, to be able to laugh with enthusiasm at every little thing that happened to me, but I don't have the courage to do it. Maybe I should look for a place where I can find some peace, or maybe some challenge that makes me feel alive again. Naruto was wondering how he could cheer himself up in the midst of so much desolation, and an idea occurred to him. To sing. What's that? He exclaimed when he saw a scene that he did not expect so soon. There are many Grim, too many really. Why do they move in groups and towards that place? Naruto, hidden in a tree, watched from above as a huge crowd of Grim headed towards a specific destination. They are, let's see, if I'm not mistaken, this route goes directly to the kingdom of Bale. What is happening there? I have to stop them from arriving, or I have to warn them before it's too late and prevent a tragedy from happening, but there are still many kilometers to reach the kingdom of Bale. Ha! Naruto heard a very faint scream in the distance, ahead of the pack. Naruto took out binoculars and looked in the direction where he heard the scream and managed to see something. It looks like a caravan. I have to go, hurry up, I have to get there before something bad happens. Or else, otherwise, they will die. Naruto hurried past the Grim and found the source of the voice. It was a very large group of people. What is happening? He asked. Have you noticed that the Grim are chasing you or advancing towards you? No one answered him. They just kept walking. They were scared. Hey boy, quick, we have to leave. The Grim are getting closer and closer to us and heading to the next town. We have to warn them. An old man said in a commanding voice. And you don't have hunters with you? Naruto asked. They died defending the town from the wall. We are the only survivors and we have to arrive as soon as possible and notify them and take action. Said a man about 35 years old and bald. This is bad boy. We are exhausted and hungry. We don't know what to do. Our priority is women and children. Another man added, with an anguished expression. Naruto and the others, unable to stop, continued walking. I am in a terrible situation. No matter how much I say that I will fight against everyone, I have no chance. They are too many. They would surround me and in the end I would die. I would have to be very, very powerful to be able to do it. Facing that horde of Grim is a death sentence, but I am not in my current state. I do not have the nine-tailed fox. I know it is there but it does not answer me. He accompanied the group of people. This was very depressing. They did not stop walking. As he heard, they had been like this for days, walking without rest, only taking a few hours to sleep and with the little food they had they fed the elderly and children. With the little he had, Naruto gave food to the citizens, but it wasn't enough. He wondered if there was any hope for them, if they could reach the kingdom of Bale safely, if they could escape the Grim. Naruto felt a mixture of helplessness and determination. He wanted to help them, he wanted to protect them, he wanted to be a hero. But he didn't know how. Here, girl, this is chocolate, enjoy it. Naruto offered a bar of chocolate to the little girl, who accepted it with pleasure. He smiled at her, but then became serious when he saw that the girl was alone. Where is your mother? She is there. She is looking for water for me, said the girl, pointing to a line of people waiting with empty containers. There is not much water here, they only give us a little every day. I see. And how has she been for you? Naruto asked with interest. Well, my mom and I have traveled a lot. she says we are going to a party that is too big for me, but I don't know what it is about. I'm very excited. The girl exclaimed innocently. Naruto sighed. What a good mother. She makes her daughter believe that everything is fine, even if they live in hell, she thought. She was an admirable woman, like many others who suffered the same hardships. The horrors of this world had shocked him. The Grimm weren't a big deal to him, but there were too many of them, so many that they outnumbered the humans in the world. I have to do something. Okay. Naruto walked away from the group and went to a corner, where he used his most famous jutsu, the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, creating several shadow clones. Listen, guys, I want you to go face the horde and stop them as much as you can. Use the strongest techniques we have, especially the Rasengan, use it and destroy everything that moves and everything that doesn't. Don't let them pass. He ordered them to the clones of him. Boss, are you sure? You've spent a lot of chakra on us, said one of the clones. Naruto was very tired. He had used a lot of chakra to create those clones, with enough power to resist those beasts or at least slow them down. I cannot give up. Naruto said determinedly. I have to protect these people, they have to get to the party. He thought, remembering the girl's excitement. As they advanced along the road, the roar of a battle reached their ears. They didn't know what was happening, but they could hear the impacts of weapons and explosions. Although they were curious, they couldn't stop to look. They had to continue on their way, not knowing if they were safe or not. The wind and dust made their vision difficult, and the screams of pain and fear made their blood run cold. Naruto walked with slow, heavy steps, dragging his feet across the sand. He was exhausted, so much so that every movement seemed like an ordeal. His clones were in charge of protecting the caravan, but he felt the drain on his energy. His gaze was absent and empty, as if he had lost the meaning of his life. Excuse me, sir, are you okay? A childish voice brought him out of his reverie. Naruto looked up and saw the same girl he had given chocolate to when he joined the caravan. She was a girl of about 10 years old, with brown hair and green eyes, who was wearing a white dress with red flowers. She was a very pretty girl, but he was so tired that he could barely return her gaze. Take some water, sir. The girl offered him a canteen with a kind smile. Naruto gave a weak smile and accepted the water. He drank it eagerly and felt how it soothed his throat and her soul. What is your name, sir? The girl asked innocently. Naruto realized that he had never formally introduced himself. My name is Naruto, and what is the name of my beautiful lady? He also remembered that he had never asked the girl's name. The girl blushed slightly. My name is Maria. It's a pleasure to meet you, Maria. And tell me, what were you doing before coming here? She was studying to be a father taught me how to fight, but he is not here. The girl responded proudly. So you want to be a hero and fight monsters? Naruto asked curiously. Yes, I want to be like my father. He did incredible things. He could lift a very heavy steel bar. No one could do what he did, only a few others. And you, sir, what have you done? The girl asked with admiration. Naruto thought she called him sir, but in reality he couldn't have been more than 3 years older than her. Well, me. Don't tell anyone because it's a secret, but I'm a ninja. A ninja? One of those who hide in the shadows and have an incredible sword? The girl asked in amazement. Yeah, Naruto responded with a half smile. And where is his sword? The girl asked with interest. Well, I lost it. In reality, Naruto had never used a katana in his life. It doesn't matter. The fact is that I am an incredible ninja and well, before I was, now I am just a wanderer who wanders the earth without a purpose. Naruto said sadly. And why doesn't he become a hunter, sir? The girl asked excitedly. Well, I thought about it a while ago, but I realized that it's not my thing. I'm not that kind of person, so to speak. Although I like helping people, I don't think I'm suited to do that. I have done many things and well, I have not done bad things, I have not done abominable things, but I feel that I do not deserve it and I have failed so much at my job that I do not even want to try anymore. Naruto confessed bitterly. But you like helping people, right? The girl said happily, her eyes shining so brightly that Naruto felt impure. Yes, but that is not enough. Naruto responded evasively. Of course it is, sir. You don't have to be perfect or amazing, you just have to want to help. That's what my father told me and I know you can do it. The girl encouraged him with confidence. Naruto didn't say anything for a few moments and then stroked the girl's hair. You are very good at giving encouragement, you know. Thank you very much. I think you're right, but yes, maybe I can. I think I'll try. Maybe it's not my thing, but I don't lose anything by trying, right? Naruto said with a spark of hope in his voice. Boom. A roar more powerful than the previous ones shook the earth and the air. A shock wave swept across the caravan, raising dust and debris. Naruto and Maria covered their eyes and mouths, trying not to breathe in the dirty air. I have lost connection with one of my clones. This is more serious than I thought. the Grimm have killed some of them and the night is approaching. I can't keep this up for long. Naruto said worriedly. Maria, go tell the leader of this group to speed up the pace. Naruto ordered. And what will you do, sir? The girl asked with interest. I'll give you time, Naruto responded calmly. Time for? The girl insisted. Don't worry, you'll see, take good care of yourself, Naruto smiled confidently. Okay. Look, I have this bracelet, my mother gave it to me, she says it brings good luck, I give it to you, thanks for the chocolate. The girl passed the bracelet to Naruto and gave him a hug. She then approached her mother, said something in her ear and ran towards the leader of the caravan. Naruto watched as the girl walked away from him, feeling an emptiness in her chest. Well, it's time to start, he said to himself, trying to cheer himself up. He headed towards the horde and fought alongside his shadow clones. These Grimm were incredibly strong. It was an entire horde and they were overpowering him, but he did not give up. He did not have that so-called aura that all hunters possess. If he had it, that would help him. It would protect his skin from any cuts, so technically a scratch from his claws would make him bleed a lot. So he tried to dodge everything he could, but it wasn't enough. However, he stopped them. He didn't have time for the pain and yet every hit he received hurt like hell. Ha ha ha. This is fun, Naruto smiled ecstatically. Despite not being a worthy battle, it wasn't that bad. They made him sweat. Is that all they can do? Naruto provoked them, expecting a response, a reaction. A group of Grimm were separating, trying to surround Naruto and attack him from behind. No, I won't allow them. Naruto formed a Rasengan and launched himself at that group, annihilating them with his powerful technique. He kept going and going and going. He was trying his best to fight, but there were more and more of them and he couldn't control them all. No. He felt exhausted. Sweat was dripping down his forehead. He knew it wasn't enough and that he would soon die if he continued like this. His chakra was running out and his wounds were getting deeper. Why do I continue? I should stop doing this. Why am I trying? These are people I don't know and well, they don't need someone like me, who constantly fails in everything he does. He said with a low and tired voice. His body couldn't resist anymore. Naruto was giving up, losing hope. But just this once I would like to come out triumphant of something. The boy who almost managed to avoid Grimm's clutch muttered, remembering his dreams and his goals. Images of the people in the caravan, of the girl, of her friends, of her teacher, of her village came to mind. He then felt motivated, determined to fight, took a deep breath and shouted. Hey, stupid monsters, do you think you have beaten me? Naruto challenged them, showing his determination. He made more shadow clones, each with a Rasengan that directly eliminated the Grimm, but more were coming. He had to keep going. He had to protect the innocent. He had to keep his promise. He had to be the best. Naruto destroyed a large part of the horde, but he was increasingly tired and the Grimm kept coming. They did not give up. They had no compassion. They were not afraid. Neither did Naruto. Pom. 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 When he needed it most, he heard gunshots. They were those from the caravan, who had come to help him, shooting at Grimm's horde. Naruto felt relieved and surprised. He looked toward a car and saw the girl, Maria, smiling at him along with her mother and the leader of the caravan. She had been her salvation. She had warned her of the danger and asked her for help. Thank you for coming, Naruto said, smiling too, a feeling of gratitude in his chest. Come on, boy, he comes back to us, we'll cover you, shouted an older man, around 60 years old. Naruto hurried back to the group of people, who were resisting the Grimm with their weapons, but his bullets would soon run out. Naruto knew he had to do something. Hey, how many weapons do you have left? Not many, just a few minutes, maybe 30 or 20. It was enough, he had to be. Hey, get everyone out of here, give me the weapons. Naruto then created several shadow clones and took all the group's weapons and ammunition. Now go, I will stop them. The people were amazed by that technique. They had never seen anything as incredible as those clones that moved by themselves, so they obeyed and left. Some were reluctant to let a child face a horde of Grimm alone, but Naruto reassured them that he had a plan, even if it wasn't a very good one. His plan was to take them all to a ravine that was close by, a kilometer or so away, but he would have to manage to attract them all. I don't know how. Then Naruto remembered something that this Orochimaru guy used in the Chunin exam, the killer instinct. Although Naruto had never used it before because he hadn't practiced or didn't know how, I guess it's about concentrating all the negativity in your being so that others feel it. That's what he did. Once the people left, Naruto released all the hatred he had towards him, all his desperation, all his fury, he concentrated it and let it out quickly. The Grimm horde sensed this and saw the only source of negativity in the area. Yes, it's me, come for me, you beasts. Then he started running and the Grimm followed him en masse and that's how the blonde arrived at the ravine. That ravine was deep, it was about 20 meters deep, maybe more. The fact is that, when he got there, Naruto was at his limit, almost dead, mainly due to chakra exhaustion, but he did not give up. When he reached the edge of the ravine, he jumped into the void, and the Grimm, who were irrational animals, followed him blindly and jumped with him. Well, I guess this is my end. It's a dignified way to die, saving people. Naruto closed his eyes, waiting for the end, waiting for the impact, but no, even in that state he didn't give up. No, I'm not going to die like this. Then, with the last of his strength, Naruto grabbed a rock from the ravine and held on. The Grimm fell on him like rocks, but he didn't care. He endured them, and once it was all over, he kept climbing and went up the ravine. There were almost no Grimm left from the horde, in fact some survived, and they were attempting to scale the rift, but it would take a while. Then, with a little fatigue, Naruto lay down on the ground. He was so exhausted that he couldn't take it anymore. He didn't care if any Grimm showed up. I'll just rest a little, he thought as he looked at the sky, thanking the sky for such a beautiful image. Look, he's opening his eyes. Yes, yes, yes. The excited voice of a girl was heard. Hey, kid, how do you feel? The worried voice of a man was heard. What happened? Hey, Naruto slowly opened his eyes, his head hurt and the light coming through the window irritated his sight. We arrived at the next town. You're in the hospital, buddy, a man said, the leader of the caravan. Damn, I hate hospitals, Naruto sighed, he didn't like and would never like hospitals. Yeah, well, whatever, what you did there, buddy, was incredible. How did you do all that? We told all the hunters here, but they don't believe us, they don't believe that one person could finish off all the Grimm. Naruto sat on the hospital bed and stretched, making his bones crack. I didn't finish them off, I just threw myself off a cliff and they followed me, but they'll eventually come out. Don't worry, we sent all the hunters from this town and called more from the kingdom of Bale. They came a day ago and are finishing off the whole horde. It will take some time to finish off a horde of that size. Wait, did you say a day ago? How long have I been here? Naruto opened his eyes in surprise. Well, it's been 3 days, buddy, the man smiled. Well, we wanted to thank you, you saved our lives. For a kid of about 15 years old, you're very brave. I'm actually 13 years old. Wow, really? Well, that explains why you're so small. Yes, of course, Naruto said lazily. Ah, and thanks for coming back for me. Yes, well, the man said embarrassed. Thank you very much, kid. Thank you, those are words that I don't hear much in my life. Many people didn't even say them to me when I did something for them, they just said something like, nobody asked for your help, or they just left, but they never said those words to me. Naruto smiled, looked at his corner, there he saw Maria, that little girl he had met in the caravan. She was with her mother, who hugged her tenderly. He smiled at her and gestured for her to come closer to him, which she obeyed happily. Sir, how are you? The little girl said. As an answer, Naruto simply ruffled the little girl's hair. Don't call me sir, didn't you hear the man? I'm only 13 years old. Naruto looked at Maria, and then took off the bracelet that she had given him on his arm, and gave it back to her. The girl was confused by Naruto's action. But this is for you, she said with bewilderment and sadness. I know, the blonde smiled to reassure the girl. Listen, I have to go, you too, our paths will separate, but this. He pointed to the bracelet. It's a promise, the promise that someday we'll see each other again. The girl knew that Naruto would leave soon and that she would have to accompany her mother to another place. Maybe she would never see him again, but she kept the hope that he would keep his promise to come back someday. I understand, the girl said, lowering her head, trying not to cry and hide her sadness. Naruto looked at her with affection and remembered something. Has anyone seen my things? He asked aloud. Yes, here they are, a man said, handing him his travel suitcase. Naruto opened it and looked for something among his belongings, then took out a large bag and gave it to Maria. She took it with difficulty with her hands, not knowing what it was. What is this? Maria asked, seeing the large bag she had in her hands. It was heavy and bulky. They are provisions and treats, mostly treats, Naruto replied with a smile. I know you like sweets, so I give them to you. There are all kinds. Chocolate, candies, cookies, dried fruits. But, the girl tried to say, but Naruto interrupted her. It's a farewell gift, he said tenderly. I want you to know that you have made me very happy in this time that we have been together. You are a very special and brave girl. Don't forget me, okay? But you, the girl stammered, unable to hold back the tears. What will become of you? Where are you going? When will you come back? I'll be fine, Naruto assured her, hugging her. Don't worry about me, I have to follow my path. But I promise you that I will see you again, although I don't know when. And when I do, I hope you tell me all the things you have done and learned. You are a very smart girl and I know you will do great things. All the people who had visited me had already left and I was alone in the hospital, sitting and wondering, what now? As before, as I always did after arriving in this world, I wondered what to do next. What meaning did my life have? What purpose did my existence have? The Remnant is a very hostile world with good people, but they resist and keep fighting, even if it sometimes seems useless. Giving up would be the easiest thing, but they keep trying to live, move on, have hope. I admired their courage, their determination, their will. I wanted to be like them. I wanted to help them, protect them, make them happy. But I didn't know how. I didn't know if I could. Maybe it was because I was close to death, but Naruto remembered what that boy from that family told him. He was a very idealistic boy, like him. He wanted to be a hero, but he couldn't, because he didn't have the talent to fight and he wasn't born with the strength of the others in his family. His father refused to train him, but he kept practicing in secret, even though it seemed useless. He reminded him a lot of himself. He still had that will that Naruto had lost once, when he lost his loved ones, when he lost his home, when he lost his dream. I don't care what people think of me. I don't care what they tell me that I'm not capable, that I can't achieve it, that no matter how hard I try, I don't have the talent to fulfill my dream. But that doesn't stop me. I will keep trying without ceasing. I don't care if I fail, because if I fail at least I will know that I tried and that I never gave up in the face of life's obstacles, the boy said to Naruto, with fervor and determination. My dream is to be a hero who protects people, who gives them courage, who makes them happy. I know it's hard. You Naruto, I know you can find a meaning, you have the power to do it. I wish you find the way to redemption and that you recover the life that you once lost. I don't know what kind of life you had or what problems you faced, but I know that none of them defeated you, because I notice it in you, the strength of a man who never gave up and who even now does not give up. You are just a little down, but when you remember why you fight and why you move forward, then you will stand up and continue to progress as you always did. So I tell you right now, you will be able to do it again. Recover the life that you once lost. You will find a meaning that is better than the previous one. And when you feel exhausted, discouraged and defeated, you can count on me and I will be there to support you as it should be. Because my dream is to always be there for people, to rescue them, to be a hero for them, and even if they tell me that I will fail, that I will not achieve it, I will continue and continue forward, because I made an oath and I do not break my word. Naruto looked at the void. Unconsciously his lips curved, then he let out a laugh and then he laughed. Jaja. Naruto had not laughed like that in a long time. That memory was beautiful. You're right, I've sunk so much into my self-pity that I forgot that life goes on and that I have to take care of him now and not what happened. The blonde calmed down. His stomach hurt from laughing so much. Well, my friend, sorry for this, but I'll take your dream and make it mine too. So I'll also be a hunter, and not only will I be a hunter, I'll be the greatest hunter that ever existed on this earth, and together we will be the greatest heroes of this world. Everyone will tremble at our names and the evil ones will hide in the caves just by knowing that we are coming. It seems that you have finally reacted. It was about time. That's very good. We'll start now. He froze when he heard that voice. Yes, it's the QB. He finally spoke to Naruto. It seems that he was waiting for something, but the blonde doesn't know the reason, but it doesn't matter. Now Naruto has a purpose and the first thing he has to do is. He hears a growl from his stomach. Naruto massaged his stomach. Yes, you're right, I have to eat something first. // Mama, where are we going now? Asked Maria, a little girl, to her mother. We will not stay in this town, my love. We are going to find another place to live, he responded sweetly, smiling and hugging her. Shall we go to the kingdom of Bale? Maria wanted to know, with curiosity. No, we are going north, where there are more opportunities and security, her mother explained. I see. And Dad? The girl asked innocently, not knowing that her father would never see them again. He was gone, leaving them alone, but her mother would never tell him, not just yet. He's waiting for us there, honey. We'll see him soon, her mother lied with a bitter look. She didn't want to break the heart of her daughter, who loved her father so much. Yeah, exclaimed Maria, with a cheerful smile. She then opened her eyes and said to her mother, Mommy, give me a candy, please. Of course, my life, her mother conceded, opening the bag that Naruto, a very kind boy, had given to her daughter. She searched through the many sweets in the bag and gave one to Maria. But when she reached into her bag, she felt something strange. It was another, smaller bag that was inside the large bag. She took it out and realized it was quite heavy. Then, she opened the string that closed the bag and her eyes widened. Inside were gold coins and diamonds, of incalculable value. Why was that in the candy bag? Had Naruto forgotten that he had that there? Or had she given it to him on purpose? In any case, she remembered the words the boy had said to her when saying goodbye to her. A farewell gift, Naruto had said, with a smile. The woman smiled too, thinking that this boy was too good for her own good. Thanks to him, they would have a better future. Maybe one day they will be able to see him again and thank him. Wow, how amazing. So this is the kingdom of Bale. I haven't entered yet, but it looks very advanced. The truth is that the technology of this world is much better than that of my dimension. It makes me a little envious, said Naruto Uzumaki with a sigh, as he stood in front of a huge door. And he was not exaggerating, the door was so big that the wooden walls that surrounded Konoha looked small in comparison. It was understandable, they had to be that strong to protect themselves from a possible invasion of Grimm. But that did not take away the impressive from Naruto, who stopped admiring it and approached a device that looked like a full-body scanner. RWBY NNN. The guard who was in charge of controlling access to the kingdom looked at Naruto and said, "Sorry, kid, I have to verify your citizenship." The blonde got nervous, although he had thought that could happen, he had discarded it when he saw that other people passed through the same scanner and entered the kingdom without problems. But apparently there was something else. "I'm sorry, I don't have citizenship of the kingdom of Bale. I'm from the outskirts of the kingdom, I grew up there. I never had the opportunity to settle in any of the great kingdoms, so I probably don't have a record of existence," Naruto apologized. "Well, at least you must have some document that proves your place of birth or your date of birth, or something like that, right? I don't know where you studied, in which town you lived for a while, to be able to check your background. We can't let anyone into the kingdom, not with everything that has happened with respect to the White Fang. Believe me, it has become a bit complicated to let anyone in these days," the guard sighed, but then smiled at Naruto, "but don't worry. Damn it, it's over," Naruto thought, who saw the guard's look, but where was he going to get those papers? He was a traveler from another dimension. He was so absorbed in his thoughts that he did not pay attention to what the guard said. "The truth is that I thought that by just saying that I did not have citizenship they would let me pass, but what do I know? I should have thought better." Somehow, the blonde sighed, and came up with a desperate idea, "Let's make something up, maybe he will have goodwill and let me pass. After all, I'm a 13-year-old kid. Harmless," Naruto said, trying to put on a face of innocence, with his blue eyes wide open and his mouth in the shape of O. Naruto rubbed his eyes with his hands, making some fake tears come out. He also blew his nose hard, leaving some snot hanging from his nose. Then he began to sob, as if he was very scared and sad. Technically he was going to tell a lie, but not as much of a lie as he could make it sound, so here we start with the performance. "I'm sorry, sir. The truth is that I don't remember who I am. I don't remember if I have a family or any close relative. The truth is that they found me in a crater near a town called Hansel, and a family took care of me until I recovered. I didn't want to cause them trouble, so I left and now I just wander the world without a destination, and the truth is that I'm tired of wandering. I want to rest. I want to find a new life and the kingdom of Bale was on the way and I wanted to settle down. Is there anything I can do, sir, to enter the kingdom? It is very dangerous out there. The Grimm attacked a few days ago the town of the Wall and I was there. It was disastrous, sir. I don't want to live in such an insecure place. The truth is that I don't," Naruto said, with a choppy and trembling voice, making a dramatic pause. All right, shouted the guard, who gave a huge sigh, as if he had given up on Naruto's scene. "Listen to me, you didn't let me finish. In your case we have to give you a traveler's pass and you can settle down, and in a couple of years, well, it's up to you. Get a citizenship," said the guard, with a more kind and understanding tone. Naruto opened his eyes and blushed, realizing that he had exaggerated too much. "Ooh, wow, I did all this crying and drama for nothing. I look so pathetic. Damn it. It doesn't matter, at least I have a kind of way out of here," Naruto thought, as he wiped away his tears and snot. "Here, this is a ticket, here is your number, go to the offices on the left, follow the directions, go to where it says migration and ask for your traveler's pass. It will take a couple of hours because there are actually many who come and more with the attack of the wall town. Many of them are migrating, so you will excuse me for the delay," said the guard, as he handed a little paper to Naruto. Then he gave him a huge smile and patted him on the shoulder, as if he were his friend. "Good luck, kid, I hope you find what you're looking for," the guard wished him, sincerely. "Thank you very much, sir," Naruto said, with a grateful smile. Then he took his first steps to enter through the city gates, but he stopped, he had something to ask. "By the way, you let me pass very easily. A while ago you mentioned that you couldn't let anyone pass, what has changed?" Naruto asked, curiously. The man snorted, mocking Naruto, but without malice. He was an older man, with gray hair and a scruffy beard. He wore a guard uniform, with a badge that said, "Welcome to Bale." "Kid, you're like 12 years old, what are you going to do? Calm down. I understand your circumstances, you're not the first one. Many children come from other settlements migrating because of the Grimm attacks. Don't worry, son, about what I said about not letting anyone pass, it's true, we do. We have more qualms about letting people between 18 and 60 years old in, they have a lot of life to tell. We corroborate that they were not ex-terrorists or some kind of assassin. Be careful, boy," the man said, with a paternal and understanding tone. Naruto smiled at him gratefully, This person was very kind to him, something that rarely happened to him, no matter if he was in another dimension. Yes, sir, Naruto replied, respectfully. Naruto crossed the city gates, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. Vale was an impressive city, full of tall buildings, bright lights and diverse people. Naruto had never seen anything like it, not even in Konoha. He felt like a child in a candy store, he wanted to explore everything he could. That was easier than I thought, a voice echoed in his head, loud and terrible. Just hearing it made him shudder. Yes, Naruto had another drawback that he aimed to ignore at all costs, something that was not easy. From the moment Naruto ended up in the hospital, the creature had been talking to him more than usual, it had been very cooperative, almost friendly. Naruto still did not understand the reasons behind that, but he was very scared. He did not know what he was planning, he did not know what he wanted. It was the voice of the QB, the nine-tailed fox that he had sealed inside him. Do you know, brat, why the sky is blue and why the trees have green leaves? Of course, there are trees with leaves of other colors, but you get me, right? The why of things. Ha, ha, ha. And why do beautiful people have more ease to find a partner if love is blind? Why don't you work on Labor Day? If a word was misspelled in the dictionary, how would we know? That's how the QB spoke, the nine-tailed beast that lived inside Naruto, with a deep and sinister voice that made his hair stand on end. Naruto did not know why the demonic fox had become so talkative suddenly, or what intentions he hid behind his absurd questions. Did he want to gain his trust and become his friend? Or was it just a way of mocking him and his ignorance? Naruto decided to ignore the QB and focus on his current situation. I must not listen to him, just ignore him, Naruto said to himself, as he sighed. He was in a new unknown place, the kingdom of Bale, he had no money, no food, no friends. All he had was his will to live and protect the innocent. Well, first things first, find a place to stay. No, idiot, the first thing is to look for a job. Now that you are here in Vale, you need to make a living. In fact, you would not be suffering from hunger and poverty if it were not for your soft heart, which made you help that little human. But there is no turning back, so look for something that you are good at, although that is very difficult, because you are not good at almost anything, the QB said, with a mix of amusement and annoyance. Naruto had to admit, reluctantly, that the fox was right. He needed to find a job as soon as possible, but what could he do? He had no special skills, no studies, no experience. He only knew how to fight and use his chakra, but that would not help him much in that strange world. Well, maybe I could be a builder, Naruto suggested, remembering that he had once worked on the reconstruction of his village. I don't think so, the laws here must be very strict with child labor. Out there in the kingdoms, you had no problem working as a builder or doing heavy work, because they used you as an excuse to pay you less. Here it is different, they will ask you for papers and permits that you do not have. Maybe gardener could be a good option, the QB advised him, thinking that at least Naruto could be close to nature like a monkey. Yes, maybe, but I don't think a family or any agency will hire me. They can confuse me with a faunus, here they are a little tolerant with them as far as I know, but I don't know if they would accept me. Besides, I want a more or less stable job, Naruto said with analysis. His blue eyes narrowed, thinking about the possibilities. He did not want to depend on anyone, or get into trouble. He wanted to earn a living with his own effort, as he always had. Well, how about underground boxer? You're not the best ninja, but you know how to throw good punches, the fox said amusedly. Sure, buddy, they'll hire a 13-year-old kid as a boxer, Naruto said sarcastically. He shook his head, unable to believe the QB's idea. Then he laughed, thanking him for trying to cheer him up, although obviously the fox did not do it with that intention. No, seriously, what can I do? I don't know much about this world, or its jobs. What am I good at, besides fighting? They couldn't think of anything. But they kept talking about future jobs, trying to find something that suited Naruto. Being honest, the only thing Naruto was good at was fighting, the best thing he was good at was fighting, and the only thing he could stand out at was fighting. It was his passion, his way of life, his identity. But in that world, there were no ninjas, no villages, no missions. There were only humans, faunus, and technology. Also hunters, and missions. I guess security is fine. I would have to fake my age, but it's obvious that I'm underage, so no, he said to himself, discarding another option. He sighed, feeling frustrated and lost. Excuse me, sir, do you still need a waiter? I saw your ad in the window and I'm interested in the job, Naruto said kindly, holding the sign that he had torn off the glass of a street food stall. Get out of here, faunus, snapped a man with a sour face, who must have been the owner of the restaurant. I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not a faunus, Naruto replied with a forced smile, holding back the urge to insult the man who had been so rude to him. Maybe he had some marks on his face that made him look like a faunus, but he wasn't. Don't take me for a fool, boy. You're a faunus, I can see it on your face. They're birthmarks. Naruto defended himself, pointing to himself. Get out of here, I said. I don't want your kind here, the man shouted, giving him a look of disgust. Damn idiot, Naruto muttered, clenching his fists with anger. It seemed that things didn't change for him, no matter what dimension he was in. He wanted to say something, stand up for himself, but he stopped when he looked around. There were people eating, watching the scene. Some looked at him with pity, others with amusement, and many with indifference. With resignation, he forced himself to calm down and turned around, ready to leave. The truth is that he would like to say that it didn't affect him, but it hurt him a lot. He still had that childhood trauma, when they rejected him for being different. Well, no, don't think about that. Well, it's getting late. You'll have to get money somehow or you'll have to sleep in the forest, so I advise you to do something, the fox said indifferently, coming out of his backpack. He was his only companion in that strange world, a talking fox that had found him lost and confused. I guess we'll have to improvise. Well, this won't be the first time I do it, Naruto said optimistically, looking at the sign that he still had in his hand and threw it on the floor. // Crazy, crazy, crazy for you baby. I'm losing my mind, girl. 'Cause I'm going crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy for you baby. You turn it on then, you're gone. Yeah, you drive me. Ooh, 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 ooh. Who would say that singing would be useful? That's how Naruto sang, who had found a way to make a living with his voice. He had settled in a corner of the streets of Bale, where he attracted an audience that appreciated his talent. The truth is that he was not doing so bad, he got some coins and applause for his effort. What did you think, friends? Naruto asked at the end of the song. This melody is dedicated to you, my beautiful lady, he said pointing to a random woman in the crowd, who blushed a little. That was good, because Naruto did not feel the only one embarrassed by his flirting. I hope you enjoyed my music and I thank you for supporting this humble artist. Good night, Kingdom of Bale. The audience cheered him enthusiastically, which filled him with satisfaction. Naruto smiled and thanked with a bow. Alright, guys, pick up the stuff, we have to go, Naruto said when he saw a group of people who accompanied him. They were his clones, who had taken the form of different musicians with an Enji no Jutsu. Each one had an instrument that Naruto had collected on his travels outside the kingdoms. This gave a special touch to his concert, which was not just a simple guitar. Yes, boss, the clones answered in unison, and began to put the instruments in a backpack. That was amazing, really. I have to admit it, I thought you would sing horribly, but you have surprised me. Now that you have money, buy some food and look for a hotel to spend the night, the fox that was inside him advised him. Yes, I know, I'm still not used to this, Naruto murmured, who preferred the evil Kyuubi with clear intentions to destroy him than the sarcastic Kyuubi with hidden intentions to annoy him. Well, let's do what you say, Naruto agreed with resignation. The last thing he wanted was to obey the fox, but he knew he was right. His pride was hurt, but his stomach was empty. // Naruto looked with satisfaction at the place where he would spend the night. With the little money he had managed to gather, he had rented a room in the most modest and economical hotel he had found. It was not a luxury, but it was enough to rest after a long day. The next day, he would continue his search for a stable job that would allow him to move forward with his dream. His eyes rested on the small bed that occupied most of the space. Without thinking twice, he threw himself on the mattress with a jump, sinking into its softness. Even though he had just met it, he already felt a great affection for that bed that welcomed him so well. Well, let's go to sleep. Tomorrow will be another day and there will be new opportunities. I don't have to worry, I just have to keep going, fulfill my dream, become the best hunter, he said to himself, with his voice increasingly sleepy. His eyes closed, and a smile appeared on his face as he slept. He dreamed of a bright future, in which he became the greatest hunter of all, acclaimed by everyone and surrounded by many friends, so many that he could not count them. // What nostalgia it gives me to see this place again, but I guess that's something good. That way I can face him once and for all. That's what Naruto said, very annoyed, as he walked through a damn sewer. He had recently had one of the best dreams of his life, although he didn't remember what it was about. He only knew it was something beautiful. But now he was here, in a dark and damp place, barely lit by torches. The water reached his ankles and soaked his feet. Curiously, he didn't feel lost. He knew the way like the palm of his hand. Technically, he had been here a long time ago and it was part of him. It was his subconscious, a fragment that reflected a part of his tormented soul. He walked lazily, without hurry. The fox had interrupted his dream, so he would make him wait as long as he wanted. He was enjoying making him suffer a little. But all good things had to end. He reached his destination, a spacious and sinister place, where a huge cell awaited him, with thick metal bars. Inside the prison there was nothing, only a deep darkness. Here I am. Naruto shouted loudly, defiantly, so stop beating around the bush and tell me what's wrong with you. Why are you suddenly being so friendly with me? Bright red lights dimly lit the dark cell, revealing a huge and terrifying figure. It was the monster that lived inside Naruto. He had orange fur and red eyes that reflected immense power. His smile was malicious and mocking. I just wanted to make you nervous, and apparently it seems that it worked, the fox said with a deep and hoarse voice. Naruto and the Kyuubi looked into each other's eyes in silence, fixedly, as if they challenged each other. But there was also something else in that look, something that neither of them wanted to admit. It was as if they recognized each other, as if they understood each other, as if they. No, that was very strange. Better not to think about that. The point is that neither of them dared to say anything else, until Naruto, being as he was, could not resist and broke the silence. And, Naruto asked with his arms crossed, waiting for some explanation of why the fox had brought him there. You don't fear me, are you very brave or very stupid? It seems that you have forgotten who you are talking to, the fox growled with annoyance, frowning. Of course I know, my prisoner, Naruto said mockingly, smiling ironically. The fox was outraged by those words and roared with fury, shaking the ground and splashing the water. Naruto stood firm, without taking a step back. He was determined to face the fox and find out what he wanted from him. Maybe that way he could better understand his own essence and his destiny. Or maybe he just wanted to have a good time with the fox, who had always given him so many headaches. Whatever it was, Naruto was ready for anything. The fox looked at him with contempt and said, "And the savior of your miserable life, you would not be alive if it were not for my generosity." Naruto just snorted mockingly. There were many adjectives to describe the Kyuubi, but generous was not one of them. Don't waste my time, fox, why did you bring me here? The beast growled with hatred, but he had other things to talk to Naruto about. Alright, brat, I suppose you know what situation we are in. Yes, I know, I'm trapped in another world, I have no job, there are monsters that want to end humanity, and they take me for a faunus. The fox twisted his lips slightly. You impress me, you're not as stupid as I thought. But no, you don't know everything. Listen, we're in another world and there's a problem. Have you ever wondered what happens to a person's soul when they die? Well, I guess they go to the afterlife, Naruto said, remembering something that some monks had told him when he was on a ninja mission. Exactly. Ha, ha, ha. The fox laughed, and it was very scary to see him laugh. They go to the afterlife of that world, and I emphasize this very well, of that world, we do not belong to this world. We are not in the natural harmony of this dimension, so it is most likely that we will fade away from existence when our time runs out, that is, we will cease to exist. Oh, shit, Naruto exclaimed, opening his eyes in surprise. Fade away like that? Cease to exist? There's no afterlife. I won't be able to see my friends when I'm dead. Those questions stirred Naruto's mind. The news of the Kyuubi was more serious than he thought. The beast delighted in watching Naruto writhe in anguish, how he began to have an anxiety attack, but unfortunately he did not come to play. With a mocking and cruel voice, he said, so even though I don't like it, I have to cooperate with you. Don't misunderstand me, I still hate you with all my being, but just in case, I have to make sure that no one kills you. Although you are very strong and from what I have seen, the people of this world are relatively weak, but we do not know everyone. There may be some other warrior who is very powerful and can face you. I will not risk you being killed. Naruto calmed down, he couldn't show weakness, not in front of the fox. He took a deep breath and tried to control his fear. With irony, he replied, that's very sweet and all, but I don't think it's necessary. Hey, aren't the Bijus supposed to be immortal? Naruto accused, pointing at the fox. The fox was surprised that Naruto knew that word, but he didn't show it. With indifference, he answered, I'm surprised you know that word, but yes, I'm immortal. But now I'm tied to you, if you die I die and there's no guarantee that I'll reform in this world if that happens. So, as you can see, I'm on the tightrope with you. I'm not lying to you, I don't want to control your body, I just want to make sure. Naruto interrupted him, he didn't believe a word. With sarcasm, he said, although I appreciate your help, I will eventually die of old age or some disease and we will fade away. What will you do then, huh? The fox just smiled smugly, he had a plan. With confidence, he explained, don't worry, I have a plan. Look, we'll tie ourselves to this world, we'll merge my essence with this world and so when you die I'll just be reborn here, because I'll be part of this world. I'll be the king of this place, the most powerful of all. No one will be able to stop me. Naruto was speechless, he couldn't believe what he heard. With disbelief, he asked, good for you, but what about me? Will I disappear? Don't you care what happens to me? Naruto put a blank look, feeling a deep sadness. The fox shrugged indifferently. He didn't care much about the human's fate, but as an act of good faith, he offered him an alternative. Don't worry, as an act of good faith, I'll also tie your soul to this world. It would be as if you were born here, on this small rock forgotten by the gods. When you die, you will be able to reincarnate in another body, maybe in another human, or in another animal, or in something else. Who knows, maybe you'll even have fun. His voice sounded mocking and sarcastic, as if he enjoyed the situation. You know I want to go back to my other world. Return. Naruto's features became sad and painful. His blue eyes filled with tears and his mouth curved into a grimace of bitterness. He remembered his previous life, his friends, his teachers, his enemies, his dreams. Everything he had left behind when he came to this world. It's better than disappearing. Don't worry, kid. In the elemental nations there were many idiots. You'll find more here, the beast said mockingly. All right. Start, Naruto said resignedly. He had no choice but to accept the fox's proposal. He didn't want to disappear. There's the problem. To complete a fusion with the world it will take about 20 years. Until then we have to make sure nothing happens to you. I advise you to become a farmer or some kind of singer for security. Have a quiet life, the fox said ironically. He knew that Naruto was not one of those who settled for a simple and peaceful life. He was a warrior, a ninja. He liked adventure, risk, challenge. No, Naruto said briefly. His answer was firm and emphatic. He was not going to give up his essence, his passion, his will. Listen, brat, the QB tried to speak, but was interrupted. No, Naruto said. He repeated the word with more strength, more conviction, more determination. I'm trying to help you. The most sensible thing would be to obey. The fox's patience was running out. He couldn't stand the human stubbornness, nor his rebellion, nor his insolence. He wanted to make him understand that his situation was delicate, that he couldn't keep acting as if nothing. No, I don't want that. I don't want to have a quiet life. I don't want to be in a mansion with trophies or something like that. I want to fight because it's my thing. I want to help people, Naruto said with conviction, which made the fox lose the few restraints he had left. Listen, brat, I'm trying to help you here. If something happens and they manage to kill you, we're screwed. Do you understand? He shouted with hatred at Naruto's refusal. The boy was almost as stubborn as he was. Naruto looked at him, still, impassive, without looking away, holding firm in his will. By Kami, fine, brat, you win. Then I suppose I'll have to help you with something else. We have to train you. Yes, don't worry, I'm training. I'll take care of that. The beast could only mock him. Is that what you call training? Don't make me laugh. I'll train you very well. I'll train you very seriously. I'll make you suffer and I'll break every one of your bones. That part really scared Naruto a lot. Thank you very much. Naruto might never accept it in front of him. But maybe it's the QB, and maybe he's made his life difficult, but if he's willing to help him, even for selfish reasons, he'll be very grateful. Alright, brat, listen to me. I hate you, but the reason I didn't talk to you all this time was because of your depressing state. It ate me up inside. It made me very angry, that pessimistic attitude of yours. If I talked to you in that state, you would have simply accepted your situation and said something like, well, it doesn't matter. I waited for your mood to change so I could talk to you, the fox said. That was very considerate of you. Thank you, Naruto said with a bit of sarcasm. I guess we're partners now. For better or for worse, I guess so. After 3 days, Naruto's situation had improved a little. He had gotten a part-time job as a cashier in a fast food restaurant, although it was actually a clone of his who worked there, while he dedicated himself to training in a nearby forest. He wasn't too worried about money, because he knew that sooner or later he would find a way to return to his world. Damn. I'm at the limit. I can't take it anymore. I think I'm going to lose consciousness, Naruto exclaimed, feeling his vision blur and his legs falter. Don't be weak, brat. This is part of the training. You can't give up now. It's only been 14 hours, the nine-tailed beast said. The problem is not that I run too much, the problem is that I carry 3 times my weight on each leg and each arm, Naruto complained. Naruto was in a forest that belonged to the kingdom of Bale. There, he exercised non-stop, making only brief pauses to eat something. It was his routine since 5 in the morning. He had many reasons to be annoyed with the fox, but he was so exhausted that he only limited himself to keep running like an automaton. The first time he did that kind of training, he ended up vomiting and enduring the QB's taunts. He felt that his admiration for Rock Lee, the ninja who specialized in taijutsu, grew with every step he took. You have to endure them. You have to strengthen your body and your stamina, the QB said. More than it already is. Naruto asked in surprise, making the fox laugh. More than it already is. Listen to me well. We have to make you more powerful, but in your current state, you are barely comparable to a simple chunin. In this world, we don't know what the true capabilities of these hunters are, so we can't be overconfident. We have to keep progressing and surpassing ourselves, first with your body and then with your mind. But while we keep running, let's review everything we know about this world, the RWBY proposed. Surprisingly, Naruto agreed with the fox. Although it was hard for him to admit it, the RWBY was right. He needed to adapt to that world and learn its rules if he wanted to survive. Well, this world is called Remnant. It is ruled by two races, humans and faunus, who are like humans with animal traits. They are constantly being attacked by the creatures of Grimm, who are monsters of darkness that seek the destruction of humanity. They are repelled by the hunters, who are people trained from an early age to fight them. The hunters use mechanical change weapons, which are weapons that can transform into other weapons, and that are powered by a source of energy called dust, which is like a kind of magical powder that has different properties depending on its color. At the same time, they have a protective layer that gives them strength and protects them from any attack. It is called aura, and it is like chakra, but different. And they also have unique abilities with respect to each individual, which are called semblances, and which are like special techniques that can do amazing things. But even so, they are not enough to stop all those monsters, Naruto summarized. The fox nodded his head, satisfied that Naruto had paid attention to the history of that dimension. Very good, brat. You have learned fast. But don't be overconfident. This world is more dangerous than you think. There are many things that you still don't know, and that you will have to discover for yourself. So keep running, and don't stop, keep talking, the RWBY said with his deep and grave voice. And Naruto kept talking, as he ran through the forest, jumping from branch to branch, dodging the branches and leaves that got in his way. There are 4 kingdoms in Remnant. They are Bale, Vacuo, Atlas and Mistral, he said, remembering what he had read in the books. Suddenly, Naruto hit a stone with his foot, making him wobble, but he quickly regained his balance. Vale and Vacuo are located on the continent of Sanus. Within Vale there are several settlements that include the main city of Vale, the island of Patch, as well as several coastal cities. Mistral is located on the eastern continent of Anima. It has a very diverse and rich culture, with many towns and villages scattered across its mountains and valleys. Atlas, formerly known as Mantle, was located at the northern end of the continent of Solitas. It was the most technologically advanced kingdom, but also the most militarized and isolated. Another known region is Menagerie, a continent located south of Anima and is the smallest continent of Remnant. It is the home of the faunus. At some point in his journey through the forest, Naruto ended up returning to the city of Bale. His training was not over yet. He kept running through the streets, passing between the citizens. Impressive, the RWBY mocked, who could see everything Naruto saw through his mental bond. Well, now, what is your cover in case they ask about your origin? Well, I lived in a village called Kuroyuri. I lived there until it was destroyed by a grim attack, Naruto answered, inventing a false story, based on what he had seen on his travels through Remnant. Damn, I'm tired, he complained, feeling his vision blur for a second. His body was reaching its limit. After that, I just wandered through some villages. I never settled in any of the big kingdoms. I just wandered like a traveler. That's my story. Right. But before wandering all over Remnant, I studied at a school for hunters in training called Empire Academy. I graduated at 13 because my skills deserved it, he added, with a tone of pride. And your parents? The RWBY asked, so that Naruto would keep talking. I'm an orphan since birth, so I have no one, Naruto said, with a hint of sadness in his voice. No matter how much time had passed, it seemed that the topic about his parents still affected him until now. In the end, he ended up in front of a two-way street. He sighed, thinking about what action to take, what to do. He had gotten lost, again. It was 7 o'clock in the evening of that day. The door of a room opened with difficulty, and through it entered a person with extreme fatigue. He dragged himself into the room, got on his knees and got up with effort. He gave a big sigh, looked around and saw the room, small and modest, the most he could afford at that time. Without thinking any more, he went to his bed and threw himself on it, sinking into the mattress. He gave a sigh of satisfaction. Sweet bed, how I missed you. Naruto delighted, feeling the softness of his bed. After a long day of training, all he wanted was to sleep. Hey, first go take a shower, you're all sweaty and stinky, the RWBY shouted from inside him. Okay, wait a while, let me recover, Naruto said as he closed his eyes, and his voice faded from exhaustion. But the fox was not going to allow it, he kept shouting at him to get up. Okay, let's go to the shower. Naruto got up from the bed reluctantly, but before doing so, he heard the sound of the door opening again, and a cheerful voice echoed through the room. Boss, I'm here, his clone entered with a smile and a mood that caused Naruto envy. It seemed that being a cashier at a fast food place was not that bad. Very good, how did it go at work? Naruto asked with curiosity, as he watched his clone enter the room. Wonderful, they fired me, the clone replied with an ironic smile, which made Naruto's veins swell on his forehead. What do you mean they fired you? Are you kidding? You have 5 seconds to explain yourself or I swear I'll kill you, Naruto threatened, furious. The clone was not moved by Naruto's anger, but laughed at him. Wow, how scary you are, killing me, as if I wasn't going to disappear anyway. But don't worry, boss, there's something good in all this. It turns out that at work the White Fang showed up and started to make a fuss, and I had to intervene. The idiots with the white masks? Naruto asked, frowning. Yes, those same ones. The thing is that I ended the conflict, without using any jutsu, just with my fists and feet. I sent them flying in a jiffy, but there was some damage in the place, so they fired me. But they paid me for the hours I worked, and the best news is that I found another job. Apparently, a man who saw everything was amazed by my fighting skills and talked to his boss, and they hired me as a security guard. Now we have a better job, as security in a small nightclub in Bale. You're welcome, the clone said with an arrogant smile, and took out of his pocket the money he had earned that day. This is yours, boss, enjoy it. Naruto took the money with disbelief, and looked at his clone with a mixture of astonishment and annoyance. He didn't know whether to thank him or punch him. His clone shrugged, and prepared to disappear. Well, boss, it's been a pleasure working for you, but you know how this is. We'll see each other in another life, the clone said. Naruto was surprised, with the money in his hand. Wow, Naruto exclaimed impressed. And to think that I was going to disappear you, and how much do they pay me? 980 lien a month, the clone said and vanished in a cloud of smoke. That's a lot, considering the 400 lien they paid me. So this is the Shang nightclub. It's not small, it's very big. So this is where I'll work, Naruto said, looking curiously at the building that stood in front of him. It was a place of elegant appearance, with large colored glasses that gave it an attractive and modern touch. This would be his possible place of work, if everything went well. He had arrived on time for the time he had been quoted for his interview, and he felt nervous but determined. With his right hand, he touched the door, hoping someone would open it, but no one answered. He touched again, but the answer was the same. Out of curiosity, Naruto pushed the door, and was surprised to see that it was not closed. When he entered the establishment, he stood still, not knowing what to do. Apparently, there were people inside, workers, Naruto deduced. But why would they be here? The club was supposed to open at night, and there was still a lot left for that. Maybe they were preparing everything for the party, or doing some rehearsal. Naruto saw that some wore flashy suits, and others musical instruments. There were also lights, smoke and sound, which created an atmosphere of fun and mystery. Naruto felt a little embarrassed by the looks of everyone, who looked at him with curiosity or indifference. He decided that the best thing would be to leave, and look for someone who would tell him where to present himself. So, he turned around, ready to leave, but a voice stopped him. A voice that Naruto recognized from his clone's memories. Hey, boy, come, said a man with brown hair and dark glasses, who approached Naruto, and with his arm wrapped his neck. This was Kiba, the man who had recommended him for this job. Naruto remembered him from his clone's memories. Come, I have to introduce you to the boss. We can't keep the boss waiting. Naruto let himself be dragged by the man, unable to react. They went up to the second floor of that place. Naruto didn't know what to expect. Who would be the boss? What would he think of him? Naruto had many doubts, but no answers. Finally, they arrived in front of a wooden door, which had a sign that said, Office. Naruto felt a knot in his stomach, and touched the door timidly, hoping they would give him permission to enter. Come in, a deep voice was heard from inside the room. Well, here I go, Naruto said to himself, and opened the door carefully. As he entered, he saw the owner of the club, who was sitting at a mahogany desk, with a leather chair that looked very expensive. The man was tall and burly, with black hair and a trimmed beard. He wore a black suit and a red tie, and had a cigar in his mouth. His eyes fixed on Naruto, and the boy felt intimidated. The man frowned, and Naruto opened his eyes wide, confused. Hey, you didn't tell me that the supposed qualified guard you were going to introduce me to was just a kid, the owner of the club said, addressing the man who accompanied Naruto. I'm sorry, boss, I forgot to mention that detail, but this kid is very good, you should have seen him, he was amazing. He knocked out 2 of those White Fang guys with 2 punches each, and there were like 20 of them. It was really impressive. I'm sure he'll make the cut, Kiba said with a smile. The boss touched his temple, exasperated. All right, never mind, I'll test him tonight. What's your name? Naruto Uzumaki. Sir, Naruto replied, respectfully. Very well, Naruto, you'll start tonight at 8 o'clock, and you'll work until 12, any problem with that? No, sir, in fact, it's very good, Naruto said, enthusiastically. Naruto needed the money, and he liked the idea of working as a guard. Well, now, regarding the dress code, you have to come with a formal black suit, to serve as security. You'll be standing at the door and avoid any kind of fight. Anyone who looks for trouble, you just kick them out and that's it. That's the job, understood? Yes, sir, Naruto replied, calmly. Naruto didn't have any suit, but he thought he could get one borrowed. One more question, how old are you? The boss asked, curiously. I'm 13, sir, Naruto answered, like a machine. Naruto knew he was too young to work, but he didn't care. Damn, we'll say you have dwarfism, you're 20 now, the boss said, with a laugh. Naruto blushed, but nodded. Yes, sir, Naruto said, resignedly. Naruto didn't see the humor, but he didn't want to lose the job. Well, that's it. Go get ready, and I'll see you tonight. And you, Kiba, come with me, I have to talk to you, the boss said, and got up from his chair. Naruto and Kiba left the office, and the boss closed the door behind them. Naruto was standing at the entrance of the nightclub, dressed in a black suit and a security badge. He watched attentively the customers who came in and out, ready to intervene if anyone caused trouble. So this is the guard job, he thought. Not bad, very quiet actually. It seems that I will keep this job for a long time. It was a good way to spend the nights, while he prepared for his true goal. So, what is the next plan, now that we have everything with respect to the training? He asked in a low voice, addressing the voice that only he could hear. We have to keep advancing with respect to that, the QB answered. We have 4 years to put you in optimal conditions, before you start enrolling in a hunter academy. With respect to your background, you have to somehow legitimize the cover information that we have already reviewed. Make them completely legitimate in the systems of all remnant. Great, and how will I do all that? Naruto sighed. It was not easy to be an undocumented in a foreign land. A sad reality is that you need papers to enter certain types of work, and more when you literally and metaphorically should not exist in this world. That's your job to find out, the QB said dryly. And don't talk out loud, people look at you weird. Naruto blushed, realizing that he had made a mistake. He looked like a madman talking to himself. He hurried to disguise himself with a forced smile, and focused on his work. Kami, so that's all for now, huh, he thought. Well, I already have an apartment, now I have a stable job and I have plans for the future. So I can say with certainty that I am completely settled. A sincere smile spread across Naruto's face, as he remembered how far he had come since he arrived in that strange world. I can finally say that things are going very well, it seems that nothing can go wrong, he said to himself, with optimism. Really? Did you just say that? The QB mocked, breaking his moment of happiness. You know you just invoked bad luck, right? Never say that, it's a basic rule. Yes, I realized my mistake, Naruto sighed, feeling a chill. He knew the QB was right, and that he had just tempted fate. Well, let's hope nothing bad happens next, he said, trying to be positive. It's been 9 months. Yes, 9 months since I hired this guy. Since he arrived, things have improved noticeably, the problems that used to plague me have decreased drastically. I was really surprised, I actually didn't expect it to last more than a few weeks, but he did it. The first conflict he had to face at work occurred a week after he hired him. They were a group of 8 students from the Signal Academy, a combat school located on the island of Patch. I didn't know they were students, because they used fake IDs and looked of age, so I let them in. Later I found out about their criminal record. They had gotten drunk and started causing a disturbance. I thought about calling my special team for this type of case, but the boy just took them down as if they were simple civilians. There was some property damage, but nothing I couldn't fix. I can say that I made a very good decision in hiring him. Very well done, Junior Shang, you were very astute. Sometimes I think it would be better to use it for other types of situations, you know, for something more illegal. His combat skills would be of great use to me in that regard, but no, he's just a child, although that doesn't stop me from tempting him anyway. But every time I look at him closely, I have this feeling that if I make a mistake, if I take a wrong step, this child could be my downfall. I don't know how to explain it, I just know that this boy is not what he seems at first glance. He seems like a normal guy, who is just there, is efficient at his job, greets you out of courtesy and can smile at you. In fact, he is very charismatic and kind to you, but I see a beast in his eyes. A beast that does not hesitate to ferociously attack his enemies, a beast that is not afraid of anyone, a beast that hides a dark past. I wonder what he did before. He doesn't talk much about his past, he usually evades the topic. In all the fights I've seen him in, I can say that he attacks with the sole purpose of hurting people, like an assassin. I would like to know his story, I would like to know, but I don't want to tread on delicate ground, so I'll leave it at that. He's my employee and nothing more. My curiosity kills me. In the club, there was a room reserved for employees to rest. There was a young man with blonde hair and blue eyes, dressed in an elegant black suit. He was sitting at a table, examining the expiration date on a container of milk. It seemed that he gave a lot of importance to that detail, but for him it was a matter of vital importance at that moment. So this expires in a month, it's totally safe, Naruto murmured carefully. The young blonde took the cardboard milk container in his hand and drank it eagerly. In fact, he savored it more than normal for a simple drink of milk. Once he emptied the container, he let out a sigh of pleasure. I don't know since when I like milk so much. I mean, after what happened at breakfast I swore I would never drink a glass of milk again in my life. Naruto remembered when he took a glass of sour milk and passed almost all day in the bathroom. The blonde looked at another cardboard milk container on the table nearby, one that was not his. Should I? He asked himself, tempted by the milk container. What does it matter? He said without giving it importance, took the container and drank it. But the pleasure did not last long. The door to the room creaked open, and Naruto reacted by throwing the container he had in his hand into the trash can. Two girls entered through the threshold, both teenagers and similar in appearance, but with very different styles. One of them had short, straight black hair that fell over her forehead and cheeks. Her pale green eyes contrasted with the red makeup that surrounded them, giving her an air of fierceness. She was wearing a tight red strapless dress, with a black lining that highlighted her curves. Her accessories were striking. Large red and white feathers adorned her left ear, a dark gray chain held her hair in front, red gloves that covered her elbows, a black ribbon that surrounded her waist, and red high-heeled boots. Spire that made her look taller. The other girl had long, wavy black hair that reached down to her waist. Her pale green eyes had a hint of cyan makeup, giving her an air of sweetness. She wore an elegant white strapless dress, with a teal lining that gave it a pop of color. Her accessories were delicate. A wide white flower hairpin adorned her left ear, a white feather scarf surrounded her neck, a silver and cyan pad decorated her left shoulder, white gloves that reached her wrists, a small bracelet silver that shone on the glove on her left arm, a ribbon that marked the center of her bodice, a silver chain belt that cinched her waist, cyan wings that came out from her lower back, and long white boots that matched the dress. Naruto stood up from his seat and bowed slightly, imitating the gesture of courtesy his tenant had taught him. Normally, he wouldn't bother doing those things, but he had learned some etiquette and protocol and was applying them. It wasn't his style, in fact he hated it, but it was always convenient to get along with his superiors, especially if they were his boss. With a respectful voice, he told them. Miss Melanie, Miss Miltia, I didn't expect to see you here. Miltia was the girl with short black hair, and Melanie was the girl with long black hair. They were the Malachite sisters, the personal guards of the owner of the club where Naruto worked. They were known for their efficiency and loyalty, but also for their capricious and playful nature. Please, Naruto, don't be so formal with us, you can call us without honorifics, said the long-haired girl with a smile. I'm sorry, but they are my superiors and I must show them the greatest respect possible at work, Naruto replied. You know it's not necessary, we've told you that many times, Miltia said with a pout. I'm sorry, but no, Naruto remained firm. Then it's an order, Melanie said with an authoritative tone. I'll still have to refuse, Naruto said firmly. The sisters looked at each other and sighed. They knew that Naruto was a very polite and formal boy, but also very stubborn and proud. He wasn't going to change the way he spoke to them no matter how much they insisted. It was one of the things they liked about him, but also one of the things that frustrated them, but they had many ways to break the boy's shell. Why don't you behave like this with the rest of the staff? Miltia asked curiously. They are my coworkers, I have the freedom to treat them as friends, Naruto excused himself. How boring, the short-haired girl said disdainfully. Leaving that aside, said the long-haired girl, changing the subject, how have you been? We haven't seen you in a while, 4 months I guess. Yes, 4 months, Naruto confirmed. Come on, tell us, how did it go? Any problems? Any fights? Melanie asked with interest. Nothing, yes, some, but nothing as serious as the student hunter incident, Naruto said. Yes, it was incredible how you solved it, Melanie mentioned with admiration. Very impressive, in fact, the short-haired girl said approvingly. Naruto remembered the incident the Malachite sisters were referring to. A few months ago, a group of students from the Signal Academy, a combat school on the island of Patch, had entered the nightclub where he worked as a security guard, looking for fun, but at some point they had become violent because of the alcohol. Naruto had faced them and taught them a lesson, demonstrating his skills as a fighter. Naruto had emerged victorious, and had managed to get the students to leave without causing any more problems. The owner of the club had been very satisfied with his performance, and had given him a good tip. The Malachite sisters had also been impressed with his bravery and his strength, and had grown fonder of him since. But Naruto was a little nervous, because in his old world, that of the ninjas, they didn't give him this kind of attention that the Malachite sisters offered him. The fact that they were incredibly beautiful didn't help. The first time he met the Malachite sisters he was struck by their appearance. They were dazzling. Normally, Naruto wouldn't pay much attention to that area, but he began to notice the feminine appearance, and he didn't give the best impression. That's why they always bothered him when they could. Like now. What's wrong, Naruto? You stared at us for a long time. Don't tell me you've fallen in love with me and my sister, said the long-haired girl, with a mocking smile. Being so beautiful, it's overwhelming. I know, sister, it's very overwhelming, said the short-haired girl, playing along. And tell me, which part do you like the most? She said, approaching him in a flirtatious way, and running her hand over his chest. Naruto blushed, and was speechless. He did not know how to react to the provocations of the Malachite sisters, who were amused by his innocence. Do you like breasts? Said the short-haired girl, getting closer to Naruto. Hey, seriously, no, don't do this please, Naruto said shakily and blushing. So you like my legs? The long-haired girl said, lifting her skirt slightly to show more of her thighs. Please, that's it. Naruto started to sweat. He was very nervous. He really doesn't like it. He doesn't like being bothered like this, especially them. So it's my hips. Do you like my hips? Said the girl with short hair. Come on, answer, the two Malachite sisters said in unison. Naruto tried to downplay their flirtation, but it was difficult for him. Naruto kept telling himself that he should stay calm, that he should not get carried away by the Malachite twins' provocations. But it was hard to resist when he felt her mischievous hands slide down his body, seeking to unbutton his jacket and his shirt. With one swift movement, Naruto pushed the girls' hands away and walked away from them, putting distance between them. Girls, be enough, he said in a nervous and excited voice. Melanie let out an evil laugh and said to Naruto, how funny you are, always so naive. Miltia joined in his laughter and patted him on the back. Naruto frowned and glared back at them, but that only caused them to mock him more. Girls, it's okay, please, he exclaimed, nervous and upset. Ha, you can't deny that it's fun to play with you, you're so innocent. Melanie repeated, while Miltia nodded her head. Naruto gave them another look of annoyance, but they continued laughing non-stop. Haha, what a laugh, but hey, let's stop joking, look what we bring you, a gift. Miltia said, changing her tone. I remember you said you loved ramen, right? Well, we brought it especially from Mistral, where we are from. It's a box of top-quality instant ramen. The truth is that, despite all the inconvenience they give me, they were always very good to me, one of the kindest people I have ever met. They bring me gifts, they talk to me when I am on breaks, they even take me for a walk when I don't work. They seem to see me as a kind of younger brother. I feel very guilty for thinking lustfully about them. Those were Naruto's thoughts, as he thanked him for the gift. Thank you very much, I didn't have to bother you, said Naruto, smiling shyly. Don't worry, we do it willingly, Melanie replied, winking at him. Also, you have done a lot for this club and you take very good care of Junior. He's practically like our uncle, we've known him since we were little, so in some way we try to reward what you've done for this club, Miltia added, hugging him by the shoulder. Yes, I can say that everyone does their best work, but you are the one who tries the hardest. In fact, thanks to you there are not so many incidents in this club, Melanie continued, stroking his hair. Normally every week some hunter comes and causes a lot of disturbance and we have to fix it somehow, Miltia explained, grimacing. True, that's what everyone told me before. How come they pay for all those constant damages? They must be extremely rich or this club is doing very well. Those were Naruto's thoughts, as he wondered about the origin of the club's money. Well, since you're here, could I buy you a plate of ramen? She said flirtatiously, trying to change the subject. Are you flirting with your bosses? The two sisters asked him in unison, looking at him curiously. No, maybe, Naruto answered, blushing. We gladly accept, said the two sisters in unison, smiling mischievously. Shang nightclub has a double side. For most people, it's just a place to party, dance and drink. But for those who move in the world of the illegal and the clandestine, it is much more than that. It is an information center where you can get all kinds of data for the right price, from blackmail to personal information, including document falsification. Anything you want to know, this club knows it. But that is not all. Behind the lights and music, there is another much darker and more dangerous business, drug and weapons smuggling. This is the main source of income for the club and its owner, Junior, the head of a powerful criminal gang that operates in the area. Junior has specialized workers for these activities, but keeps them in the shadows. They have no connection with him, they don't even know his name. They only know that they have a boss they must obey and who pays them well. Only a very select group of people, who act as watchdogs and intermediaries, know who Junior is and how to contact him. Right now, one of those groups is conducting an operation. They are waiting for a container with weapons they have bought on the black market. They have to empty it and move it to one of their many bases, where they will sell it to the mafias that control the underworld of the Kingdom of Bale. They don't care if this harms the kingdom, or even if it attracts the attention of the grim, the wild beasts that lurk outside the cities. The only thing they care about is surviving and making money. That is the law that governs all mafias. And to defend themselves from their enemies, they need weapons. Above all, of the hunters, the warriors trained to combat the grim and maintain order. Alright, it's here. Now start taking everything out. Quick, 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 shouted the head of this operation, a large, tough-looking man. They had to do it quickly. They didn't know who could be roaming around those spaces, or if they had been followed or watched. Very well, we have everything, we can go, announced the group leader, an agile woman with a cold look. Alright, let's take this to the north base. I have to call the boss and tell him that we have the goods, said the head of the operation, taking out the scroll from him, a magical communication device. North base. These are the weapons we have obtained. 30 tracer rifles, 35 Browning M1911 pistols, 40 Kalashnikov AK-47.2, 10 Accuracy International as 506 sniper rifles and 15 Glock .45 caliber gap, announced a woman, while checking the inventory with a digital tablet. There is no more, Junior. It is an amount less than what they promised us. We have to hold that guy accountable, he communicated through the scroll to Junior, the leader of the criminal organization, who was in the Shang nightclub. Don't worry, I'll talk to him personally. If you don't want to have problems, you'll have to give me a good reason and compensation for all these inconveniences. For now, put everything away and go back to the club. Is that clear? Yes, sir, Melanie responded obediently. And your sister, is she with you? Junior asked curiously. Yes, it's here. Don't worry, Multiades is taking care of storing the weapons and erasing any traces that could give us away. No one will be able to trace the origin of those weapons, unless we ourselves reveal it. Very good, Melanie. Take care. Thank you, Junior. And tell Naruto to wait for me, I have a surprise for him, a double surprise, in fact, the girl said with a flirtatious tone and a malicious smile. Junior rubbed his hand over his forehead, feeling his exasperation at the parchment. Hey, you should stop bothering him, you know. He may not seem like it, but I think he's at the end of his patience. Next time he won't put up with you. That's what I want, for him to dominate me and make me his, to submit me to his will, too. The parchment call was suddenly interrupted, much to the relief of Junior, who was already tired of listening to his obscene fantasies that left nothing to the imagination. Those two teenagers had no qualms about expressing what they really wanted to do with the innocent boy. Sometimes, Junior wished he had been born with blonde hair and blue eyes. // What a headache I have. The truth is that I'm not good at studying, but I have no other option. I hate having to do things I don't like. Naruto lamented. You need to study if you want to enter Beacon Academy. It is very possible that they will teach you other subjects there besides fighting the Grim, such as history, mathematics or chemistry, like in any educational institution in this world. The QB explained to him. Also, since you come from another dimension, there are many things that you don't know exist in our world. The level of mathematical knowledge and other disciplines is more advanced than what we have learned and we have to update you with everything. Now, I know. I thank you very much. If it weren't for you, I would have already abandoned all this and dedicated myself only to combat. You are my friend and my manager, so let's move on to the next thing, story. At least I just have to memorize that and not solve it like the rest. Naruto sighed. I'm not your friend. Naruto Uzumaki was in the Bale Public Library. It had been a year since he came into this world. He was now 14 years old. It was incredible how time flew, and even more incredible was his progress in all aspects. With good nutrition, he had grown in height. He was now 1 meter 60 centimeters tall, which was a big change considering he was very short for his age. He owed all this to his guest, the nine-tailed fox. The blonde could boast of having a muscular and strong body, prepared for combat. Sure, he was still a little small, but that didn't matter to him. The young man was very happy with his results. In fact, he had never felt so good in his life. All the effort he had made and would make would be worth it, for he was becoming more powerful. He could feel it, and he still had a long way to go. He still had a lot to learn and a lot to improve. That was what was really amazing about all of this. Don't you realize that those girls are crazy about you? QB, please stop insisting on that, Naruto begged, feeling the color rise to his cheeks. It's the truth, if you were a little braver, you could have a date with any of them, the fox encouraged him, with a mocking tone. No, QB, I'm not going to do such a thing. First of all, I don't look at them with those eyes. Come on, you're not fooling me. I know what you think about them, I'm inside your mind, the fox crooned, amused by his guest's discomfort. I'm not going to try anything with them, they are my friends, I love them very much, they are part of my life, like dirt, Naruto replied, annoyed by the QB's words. The dirt. That's very romantic, Naruto. Don't you feel anything when you see them smile, when they hug you, when they tell you that they trust you? The fox asked him, curiously. Of course I feel something. I feel joy, gratitude, affection. But it's not love, Kyuubi, it's not the same. Naruto defended himself, trying to explain himself. And how do you know what love is, Naruto? Have you ever felt it? Have you ever kissed someone? Oh sorry, I forgot about Sasuke, your first love, the fox asked him mischievously. Fuck you. That's beside the point, Kyuubi. Naruto shouted. I will respect your wishes, but you don't necessarily have to sleep with someone simply because you love them. It's simply sex, that's all and nothing more. A simple lie down, it doesn't mean anything, there are no feelings involved. I'm not going to do it, not with them. I already told you, they are not like the others. They are special, they have something that attracts me, that makes me feel things that I have not felt before. I don't want to waste my time or theirs with a relationship that has no future. Despite all the shit I've been through in my life, I still have a bleeding heart inside. I have suffered a lot from love, from betrayal, from disappointment. I have met many people who have hurt me or used me for their selfish purposes. But I have also met people who have truly loved me, who have supported me, who have made me laugh. I only advise you one thing. Do not get too attached to each person who shows you a minimum of affection or interest. It is not healthy or fair for either of you. Love must be free and sincere, not an obligation or a convenience. Yes, thanks for the advice, said the blonde boy in a disinterested manner. I still can't find where I can forge some documents, he continued. I have no connection with any mafia in the kingdom of Bale. It's not that difficult, said the Kyuubi. You just have to do a little research. Even though you were a mediocre ninja at best, you've made a lot of progress since then. It won't take you more than a week to find somewhere where you can get the documents you need, the man added. Kyuubi. Yes, but I try to stay away from these things actually. You know, I don't want to have a bad reputation when I become a hunter, Naruto mentioned. And why would you have a bad reputation? Nobody knows you, said the Kyuubi. It's a matter of honor. I left that life. I don't do anything totally illegal, you know. Naruto smiled wisely. Technically, falsifying documents is illegal, said the fox. Touché. You're right, it's totally illegal. I guess I could break the rules a little, Naruto said reluctantly. Very well, brat, finally, the Kyuubi smiled maliciously. You finally grew a little spine. The sound of scrolling made him look up from his book. It was his, which vibrated on the table. What could it be? The blonde asked himself, picking it up with curiosity. What's wrong? The Kyuubi asked from his cage, wagging his 9 tails. Naruto slid his finger across the screen and read the headline that appeared. Open double angle bracket. Terror in Bale. The White Fang claims an attack that leaves 10 dead and 25 injured. Close double angle bracket. The White Fang again. It seems that not even in the most powerful kingdoms there is peace. How crazy. Naruto commented indifferently, without stopping reading the news that had arrived on his scroll. According to the article, the extremist group of fawns had detonated a bomb in a shopping center in the capital, causing panic among citizens. The goal was to protest against the discrimination and oppression that fawns suffered at the hands of humans. Naruto frowned as he read the words. He didn't like violence or injustice, but he also didn't understand why the fawns insisted on fighting against humans. Bah, it's none of my business. I just want to be a hunter and protect the innocent from the grim, Naruto said, closing the scroll and returning to his book. And when do you plan to apply to Beacon Academy? The Kyuubi asked him, interested. Beacon was one of the 4 hunter academies that existed in the world, and the most prestigious of all. Next year, Naruto replied, turning the page of his book. At 15. The fox raised an eyebrow. Most aspiring hunters were 17 years old when they entered the academy, having completed prior training at a high school for hunters. Naruto, however, had decided to skip that step and prepare on his own, trusting in his natural talent and his will of fire. Yes, at 15. What's wrong? Do you think I'm not ready? Naruto gave the Kyuubi a challenging look. No, it's not that. I'm sure you would sweep the floor with any of those idiots, it's just that it's very rushed. You're not in a hurry, so, why? Yes, because he is applying next year, and although we may not be in the same academy, at least I hope to graduate in the next 4 years just like him. I turned another page and analyzed the text. You're only 15, you know. Most of the people who enter Beacon are at least 17. He said the 9-tailed fox to Naruto. I know. That can be a problem. Naruto acknowledged. Well, do it. What difference does it make? Maybe they will accept you. After all, you are a genius, a prodigy, 1 in a million. They will not miss the opportunity to have you in their ranks. The fox encouraged him nonchalantly. The fox didn't care much what Naruto did, as long as he didn't bother him too much. I hope you're right. But there are so many things I don't know, so many things I still need to learn. The history of this world is so different from that of my home. The color war, The conflicts between humans and fauns, Grimm's creatures, the power of dust. I need to know everything, and quickly. You could see that the city library was packed with people, but it was no coincidence. Naruto had used his shadow clone technique to create dozens of copies of himself and had disguised them with different clothes and accessories to make them look like simple citizens. Each clone was reading a different book, absorbing as much information as possible. Naruto could feel everything that his clones were learning, but also the fatigue and headache that maintaining so many mental connections caused him. Thank goodness today is Saturday and I don't have to go to work. The blonde said with relief. In a hospital in the city of Bale, a man stood next to two stretchers, with an expression of desolation and sadness, but also anger. They were his nieces, not by blood, but by heart, who lay there with serious wounds. They had been victims of the attack that Northern Bale suffered the night before, just after he spoke to them through the scroll. They had no chance to defend themselves, they were in the epicenter of the explosion. Fortunately, their auras saved them from certain death, but even so, the consequences were terrible. He learned of the attack and rushed to its base, where he rescued the battered bodies of the Malachite sisters. He didn't care about others, only them. He got them out of there before the police arrived. The injuries were horrific, they had second-degree burns all over their bodies and several fractures. They would recover, but it would take a long time. He thanked Ohm for the aura. Junior bit his lips, blaming himself for what happened. Those girls shouldn't have been there, it was his first day. They begged him to let them participate in one of his special operations, they wanted to prove his worth and he couldn't say no. He couldn't imagine that that would happen, that someone would attack them. He was furious, he swore that he would find those responsible and make them pay, no matter how long it took or where they were hiding. What do we know about them? He asked in a low voice, without stopping to look at his nieces. Even though she was in the hospital, business did not stop and revenge did not wait. It's about the comedians, a rookie terrorist group that wants to gain fame and money. They work for a certain Peter Violet, a mysterious leader that no one has seen. We don't have much information about them, only that they recently started in the world of crime, robbing banks and kidnapping people. A month ago we sold them high-tech weapons. One of his henchmen responded. I see. How can we verify that it is them? Junior asked. I have some evidence. We verified that one of them had a tattoo of a clown on his right hand, which is like the insignia of that group. The henchman said. It could be a decoy, Junior mentioned, suspicious. We thought about it too, boss, but look at this, he has a customized weapon, said the henchman, showing him his computer screen. It could be seen in the recording that there was someone who had a briefcase that suddenly transformed into a hammer and he used it to intimidate one of his subordinates. These types of weapons are unique and there are not two of their kind. Doing a little research, only Peter's right hand is the owner of said weapon. Very well, attack, Junior said hatefully, standing up from his chair and taking the gun from him. I'm not going to let those clowns make fun of me. Let's take them down. I would like that, sir, but they have hidden and we don't know where. It will take a lot to locate them. The henchman responded, with fear. Take as much time as necessary, but I want you dead. Junior said, coldly, I'm not going to let them escape. Boss, this too, said the henchman, nervously. It is impossible that they knew the location of one of our bases, it is likely that there is an informant within our ranks. I'll take care of that, don't worry. Junior said, with a wicked smile. I already have an idea who it could be. And when I find him, I'll make him pay. I'll start right now, Junior said. Once his worker left, the man just stood there, completely alone and some tears came out of his eyes, even a cry was heard, even though he is a criminal and has done a lot of harm to people, even men like him have people to blame. Who he appreciates, those two sisters were the closest thing to a family, after all they were the daughters of the woman who rescued him a long time ago, when he was nothing more than a simple orphan on the street begging for coins to survive, she took pity on him. And he put his precious daughters in danger. He remembered the day he met her, when she offered him a plate of food and a warm bed in her house, when she taught him to read and write, the guilt that consumed him for having exposed them to that danger. Don't worry girls, rest, I'll come visit you again, Junior said, his voice breaking, as he stroked the sister's hair. Then he wiped away his tears, put on his jacket and hat, and put his gun in his pocket. He left his office, determined to find the traitor and the terrorist group, and make them pay for what they had done. He had a completely dark look, the silent anger that was seen on his face was completely palpable for everyone, no one would dare approach him, he simply seeks revenge. A boy yawned tiredly at the entrance of a nightclub. It was Naruto, the place's security guard. Although he had been doing this job for a long time, he couldn't help but feel bored. There was nothing interesting to do, just make sure no one caused trouble. Inside the club, music was blaring and people were dancing, drinking and having fun. Outside, there was only silence and darkness. QB, don't you notice something strange? Don't you feel that something has changed? Everything looks so sad and gray. he said Naruto to the voice that was echoing in his head. I don't know what you're talking about, nor do I care. It's none of your business. Just do your duty and survive another day. The nine-tailed fox responded indifferently. Thank you for your support, really. At least pretend you care a little about me. Believe it or not, I like this place. Naruto thanked him sarcastically. Do you like this club? Really? What's so good about it? It's a nest of vices, drug addicts and whores. There's nothing worthwhile here. The fox replied with contempt and irony. Well, at least there are people. People who enjoy, who laugh, who fall in love, who fight, who regret. People who live, after all. Wouldn't you like to be one of them? Wouldn't you? Would you like to escape this prison we share and feel something other than pain and loneliness? Naruto asked with curiosity and longing. Of course I want to get out of here, but you wouldn't dare break the seal that unites us. Despite how you talk to me and behave, you feel distrustful of me. She smiled at the fox maliciously. That's good, it reassures me that you're not so naive anymore. Although you're still prone to falling into the traps of pretty women. He added the fox mockingly. That's not true, Naruto complained. Naruto Uzumaki would never be fooled by the charms of a woman. Naruto defended himself. Yeah, right. And what about those humans, Sakura, Ino, Tenten and all the others? Haven't they made you suffer for their whims? The fox reminded him cruelly. Bring Sasuke-kun. Enough already, Naruto shouted. Damn, you know how to make me lose my temper. Ha ha ha. After finishing his work shift, Naruto headed to the back of the club where the lockers with his change of clothes were to go home. When he opened the door to the room, he found a very sad scene. His boss, Junior, was sitting there huddled, with red and teary eyes. It was noticeable that he had been sobbing for a long time. What's wrong, boss? Naruto asked him, more out of curiosity than compassion. The man looked up, looked around, as if he didn't know where he was or how he got there. He was disoriented and confused. No, nothing. Don't worry, Naruto, I'm leaving. Without thinking, the young blonde grabbed his boss's arm. Are you sure you're okay, sir? What's wrong with you? No, don't worry, kid, everything's fine. I just remembered an old friend who's gone, Junior said. I see, Naruto replied, and let go of his arm. But upon hearing those words, his curiosity increased. He waited for his boss to leave and then made a decision. He joined his arms, made a hand seal in the shape of a cross and created a shadow clone. Go to his office and see what he does. I want you to find out what's wrong with him. Yes, boss. Naruto frowned as he heard his clone's exaggerated response. He was annoyed that these clones were not exactly like him. He couldn't control their personalities, they just came out as Kami wanted. This is very bad. If we keep this atmosphere, the customers will notice and leave. I understand the boss, but I wonder what's wrong with him. Maybe it's just me and maybe it's just that this friend of the boss was a good acquaintance of this club and today is the anniversary of his death. How wrong he would be. // That same night. What have you found out? The young blonde asked his clone, who was staring at him. Boss, it seems that the person who hired us is not as simple as we thought, but is the leader of one of the most powerful mafias in the kingdom. The young blonde man was speechless when he heard that answer. He didn't expect it. Junior was not only the owner of a very prosperous club, but he was also dedicated to the illegal trafficking of weapons and drugs. Perfect. He thought, I already have contact with the underworld, he will be able to help me. The young blonde continued to observe his clone carefully, waiting for more information. The clone frowned nervously. Boss, you're not going to like this, he said before disappearing and transferring all of his memories to her. The blonde was paralyzed, he couldn't believe what he had seen, he had to see for himself. So he got up and ran towards a specific hospital. In the kingdom of Bale it was raining heavily, the atmosphere was gloomy and dark, as if something evil had been unleashed. Our protagonist was standing in front of two stretchers, where two people very dear to him lay. He didn't say anything, you couldn't even see anger in his eyes, just uncertainty. He looked at the Malachite sisters, trying to take in what had happened. So they were part of this business and were victims of the attack. The main suspect is a criminal gang. Kami, why them? Naruto thought. A look of cold desolation could be seen in Naruto's eyes, but within seconds his eyes turned blood red. Yes, what a pity, said the fox in a bored tone. They knew very well what they were exposing themselves to in this situation. Suddenly the fox felt a chill. He perceived the pure hatred that emanated from his jailer. Hey, boy, don't do anything crazy. No, it's none of your business. I know what you're thinking. Don't do it. Look, boy, they knew the risks of being part of a criminal gang. It's normal that there are problems. They paid the consequences. They knew it, so you don't have to. So what? Naruto said without any expression. The fox could not continue speaking, because the young blonde spoke calmly and lowly but with pure hatred. He did not expect that response from the young man. he thought he would stay to take care of the girls, but it seems that he is thirsty for revenge. The fox, he smiled inwardly. This is very interesting, thought the fox. Very good. Listen, we know who he is, but not where he is. I'll find them. It won't take me long. I can help you. I am the nine-tailed fox. I can teach you how to find them. In silent fury, Naruto responded. Teach me. The young blonde climbed down through the window he had entered through and jumped. One would think he was crazy to do such a thing, but he was Naruto Uzumaki and he wasn't crazy, he was angry. Dash. Dash. That same night. I'm going to teach you to enhance your senses, so you can locate the culprits, said the fox. I appreciate it, said the young blonde. This shouldn't be difficult for you. I don't understand why they don't teach it at the Ninja Academy. Pay attention, you just have to concentrate chakra in certain parts of your body that relate to the senses. It will take a little time. Your chakra control is good, but you need an excellent one. Start with. The QB froze when he noticed small concentrations of chakra in the blonde's eyes. That impressed him favorably. Maybe it's because of anger, but this is incredible, hehe. Alright, you've done it. You just need to hold it for longer. You have to practice a lot, so this will take some time. It's no problem. I have plenty of time, said Naruto. The young blonde followed the fox's instructions and began applying chakra to his ears, nose, tongue and skin. He wanted to enhance all of his senses so he could track down those who had attacked the Malachite sisters. The fox explained to him that each sense had a specific chakra point and that he had to balance the amount of chakra he used in each one. He also warned him not to abuse this technique, as it could cause fatigue or pain if he kept it up too long. How do you know all this? The young blonde asked the fox, while he felt his perception sharpen. I have lived a long time, I have seen many things and I have learned many others, in a theoretical sense. I see, you are very wise, fox. But tell me, how can I use this to find those we are looking for? The young blonde asked curiously. That's up to you, brat. You have to follow your instinct, your smell, your hearing, your sight. You have to look for clues, traces, footprints. You have to be cunning, fast, stealthy. You have to be a hunter of revenge, the fox told him with a sinister tone. For 3 days, the young man with blonde hair was absent from work. His only obsession was finding the criminal gang that called itself the Comedians. It was not an easy task, since they had left footprints throughout the kingdom. He had to go around and investigate every place where they had performed, until he finally found them. However, he did not attack them immediately. The blue-eyed one wanted to put an end to this problem once and for all, and for that he needed more information. Thanks to his inquiries, he knew that today the leader of the organization would be in a container warehouse. That night, the young man prepared for the confrontation. His anger had not diminished over time, but had grown more and more. He was willing to take justice into his own hands, regardless of the consequences. In the kingdom of Bale, a massacre would break out. The young man had become a monster, a beast thirsty for revenge that would only be satisfied with the blood of his enemies. The fox couldn't contain his laughter when he saw what was happening. He never imagined that the young blonde, who always seemed so calm and happy, was capable of unleashing such fury. But he was understandable, because he loved those girls very much. It seemed like they had become a part of him, like some kind of fungus. Well done, boy. Finish them off just as we planned, the fox told him. Yes, don't worry, I'll do that. I'm just waiting for the boss to arrive. As soon as I see him, I'll start. Haha, I can't wait to see it. The carnage that Naruto will do tonight will be spectacular. The fox and the young blonde had teamed up to take revenge on the criminal gang. In a container warehouse, a group of 14 armed people gathered around one of them, which was padlocked. They all wore clown masks, in keeping with the name of their band, the Clown Killers. Inside the container, they assumed, was the leader of the criminal organization, Peter Violet, and they were under the orders of his right-hand man, Cobalt Black. What mattered most to them was the money they would receive for their work, and they did not miss the opportunity to brag or complain about it. The pay isn't bad, even though this job is dangerous, commented one of them, looking at his gun. You said it, the pay is very good. If I continue like this, in a few years I will have retired, responded another, smiling under his mask. I think they should pay us a little more, I mean, look at me. I have style, said another, adjusting his leather jacket. It takes more than style to excel at this job. For example, look at me, I'm the best sniper in this group. They should pay me double for my work, another complained, pointing his rifle at the sky. None of that, friend, I'm the best fighter of all of you. No one can beat me and they still pay me a pittance, another complained, hitting the container with his fist. I think you have a pittance for your vices, you should stop buying figurines, another guy mocked, pointing to his partner's backpack. Oh yeah, well, go to hell, the man in question replied, angrily. When they heard the footsteps, all the band members became silent and tensed. They knew it was their boss, Cobalt Black, Peter Violet's fearsome lieutenant. They had been arguing among themselves about pay, style, skills, and vices, paying no attention to their mission. Now they regretted having wasted their time and having angered their boss. Cobalt Black approached the group, his expression serious and cold. Everyone stood at attention, waiting for his instructions. The boss looked at them with disdain and said sarcastically, "It seems like you are having fun. Don't leave me out, include me too, gentlemen. How are you?" The group was terrified. They knew Cobalt Black's fame and knew they were in trouble. Not only would they be scolded, but they would also be punished with beatings. Everyone assumed that their night would end bloody and they would be the victims. "Sorry, boss, we were just taking a break," one of the guards apologized, his voice shaking. "Yes, sir, it was just a short break, nothing more," said another, trying to sound convincing. "So it seems like I'm paying you to rest. I didn't know that's how this business worked. Listen to me carefully, I don't give a shit about your disagreements. Get out of here and I hope you're ready for what's coming next." "I hope you're not. Don't worry about losing a hand or teeth," Cobalt Black threatened, his voice harsh. All the guards were scared and knew well what their fate was. Without saying anything else, they went to their posts, expecting the worst. Cobalt Black followed them with his gaze, disgusted. "I have to say, it's really very difficult to find good henchmen," Cobalt Black spoke to himself, with a sigh. Cobalt Black was a robust man, with black hair and green eyes. A scar ran across his face, from his right eye to his chin, giving him an intimidating look. He wore a white shirt that hugged his muscular body, and a long black jacket that covered his arms, protected by fingerless gloves. He was wearing black latex pants that hugged his legs, and combat boots. In his hand, he carried a black briefcase, which contained his mechanical change weapon, a pistol that could transform into different types of weapons, depending on the situation. "Damn idiots, how can you think of leaving your positions? I suppose that after punishing all of them, I'm going to execute one of them, so that he can serve as an example and so that they don't think about disobeying orders again. It will be the best, maybe I'll end him with a bullet to the head," Cobalt Black muttered, angrily. Before he could finish speaking, a body fell from the top of the containers, very close to him. Cobalt crouched down to get a better look at the body and saw the identification number. It was Clown 1, one of his guards. "This is Clown 1, but a few seconds ago I sent them to formation," said Cobalt, surprised. Then, Cobalt regrouped all his guards, to check that no one was missing, except the corpse. He counted them one by one, and saw that they were all there. "Very well, everyone is here," said Cobalt, with an authoritative voice. "Yes, sir," responded a guard, with fear. "All right, it looks like we have an unwanted guest, so we have to deal with him." "So," Cobalt said, preparing to give his orders. But at that moment, the street lights went out, leaving everything in darkness. "Now this too," Cobalt exclaimed, annoyed. "It doesn't matter. Use the flashlights, go through the corridors between the containers, make sure your partner is a fawn, for greater safety. They can see in the dark, so trust them. Any silhouette you see, shoot to kill. We already know that the enemy is hostile, do not hesitate even if it is a child. We cannot have witnesses," Cobalt ordered, firmly. Then, he divided his guards into pairs, according to the number they were assigned. "These are the groups. Clown 14 and Clown 3, Clown 2 and Clown 10, Clowns 5 and Clown 7, Clown 9 and Clown 8, Clown 13 and Clown 12, Clown 11 and Clown 6, and Clown 4 and me. Each the couple has to cover an area of the warehouse, and communicate by radio. If you see something suspicious, tell the rest. And remember, don't leave a trace of anything. Come on, let's move," said Cobalt, ending the meeting. The guards obeyed and spread out through the warehouse, searching for the intruder who had killed one of their own. Cobalt was left with Clown 4, who was a fawn with red hair and black horns. //. The members of the mission had divided into smaller groups, following the orders of their leader. Each one had the task of exploring a different area of the container depot, looking for clues or suspects of the strange situation they were experiencing. "Psst, Clown 14, can you hear me?" Clown 3 whispered through the communicator in his ear, not caring that he was only a meter behind Clown 14. "Yes, tell me, Clown 3, Clown 14 responded with a serious voice. "Why do we use these fake names instead of our real names?" Clown 3 asked curiously. "It's a precaution. We don't want to be identified if they capture us," Clown 14 explained patiently. "But I know our boss's name," Clown 3 said innocently. "He doesn't care. It seems like he's not afraid of anything," Clown 14 spoke with admiration. Hey, how old are you?" Clown 3 asked with interest. "I'm 35, replied Clown 14 dryly. "I'm 20, Clown 3 said proudly. "You're too young for this job," Clown 14 told him in a reproachful tone. Yes, but it's the only thing I know how to do well. I lived in a town near Mistral, Clown 3 told him nostalgically. I'm not interested in your story, boy. Clown 14 cut him off tiredly. The boy wouldn't stop talking, so he simply ignored him and walked forward a few meters. The place where I grew up was surrounded by a large green forest that in the days between October and November was dyed an intense red. It was incredible. The truth is that Clown 3 continued talking without realizing that Clown 14 no longer listened to him. Suddenly, Clown 3 fell silent. Not hearing his voice, Clown 14 turned around, but Clown 3 was not there. It was as if he had vanished. What the hell? Clown 14 exclaimed in alarm. Then he took his communicator and was about to call his superior, but he couldn't even utter a word, because a blade pierced his throat, preventing him from even making a sound, and of course suddenly his communicator was snatched by a hand and turned off instantly, and his body fell to the ground lifeless. Cobalt Black and his group had separated 5 minutes ago, following their plan. Each one had to explore a different section of the enormous place, where they were supposed to find those responsible for the situation that had brought them there, or the person responsible. But something was very wrong. Cobalt Black felt it in the air, which had become cold and sharp, like that of Atlas, the northernmost kingdom of Remnant. It was a cold that burned his lungs and squeezed his chest, without knowing why. He was breathing hard, as if he had run a marathon, and his hands were shaking, as if he had a fever. He didn't know what that feeling was, but he didn't like it at all. Clown 4, call the other groups, Cobalt Black ordered, with an altered voice. Yes, sir. Clown 11 and 6, respond, Clown 4 said, but only static was heard. Try Clown 7 and Clown 8, or anyone. Cobalt Black exclaimed, impatient. Yes, sir, shouted Clown 4, just as nervous, and so he did. He tried all the groups, but none responded. All you could hear was static. Did you hear that? Cobalt Black asked, alarmed. There was the sound of metal hitting metal, as if someone was hitting the walls or pipes. The sound came from a distance, but it grew louder as time passed. Rooney, Cobalt Black shouted at the top of his lungs. And they do it like that. Clown 4 and Cobalt Black ran in a hurry towards their boss's base, a huge container that stood out for its size among the others, as it was as big as 2 houses put together. If this guy is as good as I think he is, and he is, he wiped out our guard in 5 minutes, then I need reinforcements, Cobalt Black thought, scared. He didn't bother to call his boss to get ready, he was so focused on escaping that it didn't occur to him. Sir, I think it's close, Clown 4 said, listening to the sound get louder. Don't look back, keep running, Cobalt Black ordered him, and in an instant the resounding knocks stopped being heard. Still, he didn't stop running. Sir, I think I already. Suddenly, Clown 4's voice went off. Cobalt Black stood there, to see what had happened, but he did not find his lackey. He had disappeared into the darkness, as if he had been swallowed by it. No. Damn. What do I do? His thoughts were erratic and alarmed. Then, in a moment of lucidity, it finally occurred to him to call his boss. He took the communicator from him and just when he was going to turn it on, he felt a blow on his right leg, right between the femoral biceps and the calf, which made him fall to his knees. And before he could scream, one hand covered his mouth and another covered his eyes, and they turned his head 360 degrees to the left. Even in that position, he could only make out a dark silhouette standing there, its red eyes glowing in the darkness. For the first time, Cobalt Black felt fear, and that was the last thing he felt. Inside a huge metal container, isolated from outside noise and movement, was Peter Violet, inspecting the merchandise that had been stolen from various stores and the Schnee Dust Company in the city's ports. Boss, we have 2,000 dust crystals, sir, reported one of his subordinates, showing him a box full of brightly colored fragments. I guess that's enough for tonight, Peter replied, his voice hoarse and tired. Pack everything, we have to get out of here as soon as possible, we have to deliver all this to the lady. As he uttered those words, Peter's expression changed from calm to furious, remembering the woman who had him under her control. Damn, how did I go from being a leader to a simple lackey? Peter thought, touching his right arm, where he had a scar that reminded him of the punishment he had received for disobeying her. The truth is that if it weren't for the fact that she has a tight grip on my balls, she would have already escaped to another realm. Besides, I can't underestimate her strength, I've already learned my lesson. Peter frowned and gritted his teeth, trying to contain his rage. All right, pack up, come on, he exclaimed, giving orders to his men. His henchmen quickly went to work, packing the boxes of dust into bags and suitcases. They had already finished most of the work, they just needed to take all that dust to their secret base, located in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. But suddenly, the sound of the container door opening was heard, with a high-pitched squeak that lasted longer than necessary, as if whoever was opening the door was taking their time just to be dramatic. And when the door opened completely, They saw a boy no more than 14 or 15 years old, with blonde hair and blue eyes, with 3 whisker marks on each of his cheeks and with a katana in his right hand. The boy calmly looked at every corner of the place with curiosity and entered as if he were the owner of that place. He was smiling, but his red eyes were shining intensely. It was sinister. "Hello, how are you guys?" said the blonde boy, with a curiously cheerful tone, as if he were talking to friends he hadn't seen in a while. "Nice night to go partying and have a good time with your friends, right?" "No. Look guys, I'm really glad to find you," continued the boy, named Naruto, laughing lightly. "It took me 3 days to locate them and it was completely exhausting. They know how to cover their tracks very well." Peter felt annoyance at the intruder in front of him. How did this boy get here? Why didn't Black stop him? He asked himself, remembering his second in command who had to guard the entrance to the container. "Well, it doesn't matter, I'll talk to him later," he said to himself, thinking about giving her a good beating. "Who are you and what is your name?" Peter asked, with authority, trying to intimidate the boy. "Who am I?" Naruto repeated, putting on a thoughtful expression. "I am many things. I am a demon, an orphan, an empty head, but for you, I am death." Peter laughed loudly and then the other henchman laughed along with him. "Boy, please don't make me laugh," he said, with a sigh. "Sorry kid, I don't know how you got here, but I won't be able to let you go. You're already here and I can't leave witnesses. Damn, Black is supposed to take care of the nuisances that unfortunately wander around here." "Cobalt Black is dead," Naruto said, seriously. "You lie." Peter refused to believe Naruto's words. "I had benevolence with him and quickly ended his miserable life," said the blonde with a sinister smile, "but I will not have the same consideration for you, Peter." Peter felt a chill when he saw the blonde boy's cold and merciless gaze. He couldn't believe that he had killed Black. Before he was going to kill him because he had no other option, but now he would do it for the hell of it, to avenge his friend and save his own life. "Let's see guys, finish him off," he ordered, furiously, to his 4 henchmen who accompanied him in the abandoned warehouse where they had agreed to meet. "Understood, sir," the henchmen said cheerfully, as if they didn't care that they were going to hurt a boy. They were unscrupulous bullies, used to obeying Peter's orders without questioning them. When the first henchman approached the boy and put his hand on his shoulder, the young man with a swing of his saber cut off the arm that was on his shoulder. The henchman screamed in shock. He did not have time to exclaim any words of pain as his head was cut off in a single cut. Blood splattered Naruto's face, but he didn't care. On the contrary, he seemed to enjoy every movement of his weapon. "Listen, it seems that we are starting off on the wrong foot. My name is Death and your day has come for you gentlemen," said the blonde, with a malicious smile, while he put himself on guard in front of the other 3 henchmen. "No, don't worry, don't be scared, this would come to you sooner or later, whether due to illness or old age. For you, by bad luck, death came in the form of me," the man pointed out to himself. Blonde, with a mocking gesture. "What are you waiting for? Take out your weapons and shoot," Peter shouted from the back of the warehouse, where he had taken refuge behind some boxes. And that's what the henchmen did. They took out their guns and tried to shoot Naruto, but surprisingly he dodged all of them as if the dust was passing in slow motion for him. As the boy dodged, he steadily approached each of Peter's henchmen, and so it was, one by one he killed all the henchmen, quickly and accurately. He cut off their heads and pierced their hearts, and yet he showed no trace of anger in his eyes, only an expression of indifference and boredom. It was so fast, Peter didn't even have time to process what happened in that instant, it was so fast. Or he was just in shock. Aware of the danger Peter was in, he ran towards the door, but when he was about to pass by the young man, the blonde threw the katana and stabbed it into Peter's left shoulder. The force was such that it slammed him against him. The metal wall. Screaming in pain, Peter tried to pull out the sword, but the blonde got there first and stabbed it deeper, making Peter let out an even louder scream. "No sir, like I said, your time has come, you can't escape it. I'm sorry, that's just how things are," said Naruto, with a smile of contained fury, as he got closer to Peter, who was trapped and helpless. "Who are you?" Peter exclaimed, with a groan of pain, as he saw how the blonde was. "I already told you. I am Death," the blonde responded, with a cold and cutting tone. "Fuck you, you idiot. Who sent you?" Peter asked, desperately, as he felt the pain becoming unbearable. "No one sent me. I'm just here to collect the bills. You damaged a lot of merchandise belonging to a certain group," Naruto mentioned, indifferently. "Are you talking about Junior? Are you coming with them? Are you coming to get revenge?" Peter asked in disbelief, remembering that he had stolen a shipment of Junior's weapons. "No, I don't come with them, but I do come to take revenge. You hurt people you shouldn't have," Naruto spoke coldly, while his red eyes shone with deep hatred. Go to hell. They knew what they were exposing themselves to. This is a dirty game, the law of the jungle. They would attack me too if they could. I'm not a fool. Peter responded angrily, trying to hide his fear from him. What a pity. I was hoping to surprise you, but I see that you are aware. Naruto feigned disappointment, while sketching a malicious smile. And if you're not one of them, why do you get involved in this? What do you care what I do? I already told you, you hurt people who are important to me. Naruto repeated firmly. So what? They have also done a lot of damage, they are villains just like me. You have no idea what they. Peter couldn't finish his sentence, because Naruto put a finger to his lips, silencing him. We are not here to talk about them, or what they have done. We are here because of what you did, and because of the people you hurt. I am not interested in your story, I am only interested in your actions. Naruto told him sternly. It was then that Peter saw it clearly, the suppressed anger that was hidden behind their friendly conversation. This boy was truly terrifying. You hurt two people that I care about a lot, so I only come to take revenge for them, not for the group. I don't care about the others, they were my friends, very good friends. What a shame, Peter, what a shame. Naruto expressed sadly. Peter, in an act of rebellion, spat in the blonde's face. Don't think this is going to stop me, he said defiantly. I think so, because after this you won't be able to do anything else. Naruto whispered ominously to him. And to think that Junior had a monster like you so close, he sure knows how to choose his employees. Peter laughed madly. Bye-bye, the young blonde simply said, while a blue orb formed in his right hand that rotated in different directions quickly. Peter could feel the power emanating from that sphere. What is that? Peter asked with a trembling and heavy voice. This is the end of your path. Naruto responded coldly. Naruto then slowly brought the orb closer to Peter's chest, piercing his flesh little by little like a drill. Naruto pressed the Rasengan harder against Peter's chest, making him scream in agony. The blonde didn't want to kill him quickly, he wanted him to suffer and die in pain. And yet, Peter never asked for forgiveness or begged for his life, he just screamed. Naruto, fed up with his screaming, pressed down hard and pierced through the chest, destroying Peter's aura in an instant. Naruto removed his hand from Peter's chest, along with the sword he had stuck in his shoulder, and let the corpse fall to the cold ground. Once he left the body on the ground, he left the metal container where they were, and made a hand seal. Taju Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. And a group of 20 clones identical to him appeared. I want you to collect all the bodies and clean this whole place, don't leave any traces. Seal the corpses in storage scrolls, go to the open sea, about 10 kilometers from Bale, and dump the bodies there. Naruto ordered them with authority. Yes, boss, the clones responded in unison, and got to work. Naruto simply stared at the night sky, contemplating the immensity of the stars. For a group called the Comedians, they really weren't funny at all. Naruto thought wryly, as he walked away from the crime scene. In a private office of a nightclub, Junior Shang waited impatiently for his men's report. They had located the enemy base a day ago and knew exactly where Peter Violet and his gang were hiding. All that was left was a call to confirm that they had been eliminated. Junior was relaxing smoking a Mistralian Habano, the best cigar he had ever tried in his life. Suddenly, the sound of his scroll broke the silence of the room. Junior grabbed it quickly and saw that it was one of his men. Is the job done? He asked in a firm voice. Sir, the voice on the parchment trembled. They got ahead of us. Junior frowned at those words. Who was he? He demanded to know. Boss, this will surprise you. The man said nervously. Well, Junior asked impatiently. He now found himself in one of his many secret bases, where he had decided to receive the men's report from him personally and in a safer place than the club. He didn't want to risk being spied on. Look at this, boss. The subordinate said, placing an envelope containing valuable information on the desk. Junior took it and opened it curiously, his jaw dropping open when he saw what was inside. They were photos. They were photos of mutilated corpses, scattered along the road, and you could also see photos of the container where Peter was supposed to be. Junior picked up another photo and opened his eyes wider. It was Naruto Uzumaki, his bodyguard, who appeared in the image. He took another photo and saw the young man coming out of the container, and another one in which the blonde made a strange hand position. He then saw another photo of the boy surrounded by copies of himself. We all left immediately before he noticed us, boss. The subordinate explained. Why didn't they record all this? Junior asked reproachfully. In the heat of the moment, sir. It didn't occur to us. The man said with shame. This is very interesting, he said to himself. Junior. It is a very favorable event, I think so. You were very wise, Junior, very wise to hire him. He smiled. And thank you very much for recommending it to me, I'm almost tempted to let you live, Kiba. He said looking at a corner of the room, where Akiba was found, beaten and tied to a chair. Forgive me, sir, for not having come to work. I was sick and needed to rest to heal, said a young blonde man, lowering his head in sign of repentance. Junior watched him coldly, showing no emotion. Why didn't you tell me? Junior asked, raising an eyebrow, skeptical of Naruto's excuse. I was so bad that I couldn't even move, sir, Naruto lied. It's okay, calm down. Nothing happens. Just go back to your work. Yes, sir, immediately. But you have to know that this will affect your salary, right? Junior warned him. Yes, I know it and I accept it. Very well, go to your position. And so he did. The young blonde returned to the entrance of the club, where he was working as a guard. He resumed his boring and monotonous routine. You know, what happened last night was incredible, said the nine-tailed fox, amused. The truth is that I wasn't expecting that speech. It was very dark, you look like a villain from a movie. Shut up, Kyuubi, I don't want to talk about it. Naruto tried to ignore the fox, but it was difficult, since it was on his mind. This is amazing, I have never seen you like this, so angry. Not even when the Uchiha ran away, the fox's malicious voice made his hair stand on end, but it also angered him. I told you to shut up. Ha, 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 well, enough of the jokes, now we'll talk seriously, said the nine-tailed fox, adopting a gloomy tone. What happened yesterday made it clear to me that you are holding back too much. Do you have any idea what will happen to you if you continue like this? Naruto felt a lump in his throat when he heard those words. He remembered what he had done the night before, when he had lost control and had released some of the fox's power. He had said words full of hatred and resentment, which did not seem like his own. He had succumbed to the anger and pain that he kept inside of him. Nothing will happen, because it won't happen again, Naruto replied firmly. There you go again. Listen to me carefully, if you keep holding back, you will explode and simply damage everyone who gets close to you, you won't even distinguish between allies and enemies. The young blonde listened attentively to the Kyuubi's words, is it true? Have I been holding back? He asked himself. Naruto shook his head, pushing his thoughts away, thanks for the advice. Don't be confused, this is more for my benefit than yours. I still thank you. And so the young blonde finished his workday and returned to the lockers to take all his things and go home like every night. Damn it, it seems that these guys have taken my scroll, again with their jokes, I'm already fed up, and it's always the same, they can't think of anything original. Naruto complained. Look it up, kid, lest one of those idiots know something about computers and be able to obtain your password and review your browsing history. The Kyuubi said. Naruto tensed. What are you talking about? He stammered, and that only made the beast laugh. Ha, 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 pervert. Naruto went looking throughout the club for his super scroll, hoping it was another of his superior's pranks. He spent almost 2 hours looking for the scroll. I'm already tired, I'm going to talk to Junior so he can give these guys a reprimand. Guys. Then the young Rubio approached his boss's private room, on the second floor, knocked on the door. Once they confirmed that he could enter, he opened the door. Sir, the boys once again played one of their pranks on me and hid my scroll. I would like to know if you could talk to them to give it back to me so I can go home quickly. The blonde stood there paralyzed, unfinished, because his scroll was in the hands of his boss. Why do you have my scroll, sir? He asked doubtfully. Oh, this. I found it in the bathroom. It was in a case. I kept it in case you decided to look for it, Junior responded. Thank you very much, boss, Naruto responded. When the blonde was going to take his scroll, Junior took it from his hands. And how have you been? When you mentioned that you were sick, I was quite worried. The truth is that I wouldn't want something to happen to you. You are very important. In this club, you do a great job. I appreciate your words, sir. So there they stayed in a dead silence. Junior simply stared at the blonde, as if he saw through his soul, and little by little Naruto was getting more nervous because of that look. Did I do something wrong? Naruto asked himself. Lord, what's wrong? Hey Naruto, do you want a raise? Bale is one of the 4 kingdoms that exist in RWBY, the mysterious world where humans fight against the savage beasts known as Grimm. Bale is located on the eastern edge of the vital continent, and is considered one of the safest and most prosperous places in RWBY. Its infrastructure is impressive, with modern and elegant buildings that contrast with the natural landscape. Its people are kind and welcoming, although there is still some discrimination towards non-human races, such as fawns. Its economy is based on maritime trade, and its ports are filled every morning with ships bringing fresh and delicious fish and seafood from the region. Life in Bale is relatively easy and quiet, an ideal place to settle down and enjoy the peace. And best of all, when the sun goes down, there are always options for entertainment, from bars and clubs to theaters and cinemas. Everything in Bale works perfectly. You could say it is the most functional kingdom of all. Nothing phases him, except a burning building. Nobody expected that night to end like this. Nobody suspected that the person responsible was a 14-year-old boy who was right in front of the building, watching the fire with an expression of fear and surprise. But it was just a facade, a mask that hid his true nature. The boy was Naruto. Everyone stand down. Please respect the perimeter. Hey, boy, you, get out of here, shouted a firefighter who approached Naruto, believing him to be a simple passerby. Yes, sir, Naruto responded with a trembling voice, pretending to be scared. He ran away from the scene, taking advantage of the chaos and confusion that reigned in the area. As he ran, he pulled out his phone and dialed his client's number. You know, brat, with this you already buried your honor 10 meters underground, said a mocking voice. It was the nine-tailed fox. I know, Naruto said in a calm tone, without letting the provocation affect him. He had no honor, no pride, no morals. He only had money, and survival. When did I become a full-time mercenary? Naruto thought. I didn't have much choice, said the fox, with a tone of satisfaction. Well done, boy. True, I really needed those papers. // How did it go, boy? I see the news and it seems like you made quite a mess, Junior Shang said to his young and newly hired mercenary. Yes, don't worry, Chrome Skull is already out of the game. He lost his hand with a fire dust crystal and made himself fly into the air, responded a young blonde man, making gestures with his hands. Excellent work, Naruto, you have impressed me a lot. Now, stop flattering, how are my papers going? The Uzumaki cut off his boss without any respect. In progress, boy, it's not an easy thing, you understand. I have to get you into the systems of all the kingdoms and I still don't understand why I have to put aura manifestation as your semblance if you can clearly create clones. That's none of your business, Junior, just do what I tell you. Okay, boy, don't ask any more questions, said Junior. And this was Naruto Uzumaki's new routine, doing mercenary work for Junior, who in return helped him with his papers to enter Beacon Academy. Naruto sighed regretfully as he remembered how he had gotten into this situation. Flashback. What were you doing here? Junior asked when he showed him the image of Naruto coming out of a container in a warehouse. Obviously it's someone who looks like me, the Uzumaki lied to his boss. No, I don't believe it, that's you, what were you up to? Nothing, sir, I don't know what. And you keep lying to me, well, it doesn't matter, what matters is that I want you to work for me, Junior said with a malicious smile on his face. But I already work for you, Naruto replied. But I want you to do other things for me, you know, something more illegal, more secret. The young blonde waited patiently for his boss to finish speaking so he could leave. Junior sighed and proposed a deal. I offer you the same as for the guard job. You do jobs for me and I give you whatever you want. What do you want, Naruto? Do you want women? Do you want more money? Tell me, I could help you with anything. I think I could take advantage of this situation, the Uzumaki thought. Look, I'm not really asking for much, I just want papers to enter Beacon Academy. I don't see what the problem is, just apply in a few years, it's not that complicated, Junior said. Applying in itself was not difficult, the difficult thing was getting admitted. That's the thing, the truth is that to apply to an academy like Beacon you have to have studied at a hunter training school, said Naruto. Yes, I know all the processes, boy, Junior smiled. That's the problem, I wasn't in any of those schools. Take the in-person admission exam. If you don't have an academic background, that is the other option, many do it, but they are special cases, Junior said. And well, I practically have no information in the entire remnant to support that I was born, Naruto said nervously. What? Junior shook his head, leaving the topic for another time. When he hired Naruto he never asked for any documentation, he paid him in cash, without any contract, he never imagined that Naruto would have that problem. Well, that complicates it, don't worry, consider it done. Junior told Naruto that he had friends in the kingdom's information system and that he could create his fake data to make it look like he was born in Mistral and had attended a hunter school. He told her that the process would take a few months and that he would have to pay her a large amount of money for the risk he posed. Yes, I want those documents as soon as possible, I'm going to apply next year, Naruto said urgently, making Junior frown. Next year. But next year you'll be 15 and at Beacon they only accept ages 17 and up. I know, but I need to apply for next year. I don't think it will be that difficult, I just want you to put this information. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, I graduated at the age of 13 from the Empire Academy and I was born in a town called Kuroyuri, Naruto said with a confident smile. Naruto Uzumaki. No one is going to swallow all that nonsense, no one is that good, not even Ozpin and he is the youngest director in the entire history of Remnant, Junior said sarcastically. Luckily, boy, I have contacts at the Imperio Academy, I'm going to ask for some favors so that they can prepare a file for you that confirms that you really studied there. But that will take time and money, a lot of money in particular. How much would it cost me? Naruto asked curiously, hoping the amount wasn't too high. With what you are going to do for me you will be able to pay for it, you will even have left over, said Junior. Okay. Naruto said with a sigh of resignation, I accept the offer, I hope we work well together. Yes, I hope so too, Uzumaki Naruto. They shook hands. Present. That was the event that brought Naruto to this extreme, he could have solved it another way, but this was the easy way out. If that's all, can I go? Said the blonde. Yes, that's it, you can go now, Junior told him. Naruto Uzumaki turned and walked towards the door, but before leaving that office he had to communicate something to Junior. Oh, by the way, I won't work tomorrow. And for what reason? I'm going to go visit Miltia and Melanie, I haven't seen them in 4 months since the incident, Naruto responded. I see, no problem, enjoy your day off. Naruto nodded and left the room, leaving Junior alone. This boy is really good. Junior continued to admire the young man. He was very skilled at what he did. Every job he did in such a way that he did not leave any evidence that linked him to him. The most impressive thing was that he did it only with a pistol and a saber that he had borrowed from one of his men. Junior remembered some of the jobs Naruto had done for him. Infiltrating a military base and stealing some secret plans, eliminating a leader of a rival gang that was competing with him, sabotaging a train that was transporting a shipment of weapons, and many more. Naruto always accomplished his mission, no matter how difficult or dangerous it was, and he always came back unharmed and with a smile. Junior wondered where Naruto had come from, what motivated him to do what he did. He knew nothing of his past, nor of his family. He only knew that he was an exceptional mercenary, and that it was in his best interest to have him by his side. Maybe he's better than Ozpin, Junior said to himself quietly. / Open double angle bracket Rose. I love you Jack. Takes the hand. Jack. No, don't say goodbye. Rose. Don't give up. I'm so cold. Jack. You're getting out of this. You are going to have children. And you will see them grow. And you will die being an old woman. In a warm bed. Not here. Not tonight. You understand me. Rose. I can't feel my body. Jack. Rose, listen to me. Listen. Winning that ticket is the best. Something that has happened to me. It brought me to you. I'm grateful, Rose. I'm thankful. You have to do this honor. Promise me you'll survive. That you will never give up. No matter what, it doesn't matter. How desperate. Bees. Promise me now. And never let go of that promise. Rose. I promise. Jack. I'll never let you go close double angle bracket. Please Jack, hold on, Naruto said with a broken voice, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to come out of his eyes. What damn filth, Kyuubi exclaimed with contempt. Naruto Uzumaki was in his apartment, on the couch in his living room, next to his television, watching a movie that he had rented because it had very good reviews. All the critics loved her and he wanted to know if she was as good as they said. The truth is that he got a big surprise. He never expected it to be like this. In fact, he felt very excited. Hey, seriously, you should have bought the other movie. It's very boring, Kyuubi sighed dramatically. Shut up, you wouldn't understand the cinematic level of this movie. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, Naruto responded with admiration. First, this is the saddest thing you've ever seen. And second, wouldn't you understand the cinematographic level of this movie? If not, this movie has a blunder. That piece of driftwood has enough space for both of us. It makes no sense that Jack is dying of cold and that Rose is just watching the idiot die, Kyuubi protested indignantly. Naruto ignored him. This movie was an emotional rollercoaster. Thank you James Cameron, Naruto said gratefully. The young blonde wiped his tears with some tissues he had on his sofa table. What a good movie. I love watching movies every Sunday. A movie night, Naruto exclaimed excitedly. I agree, let the next movie be horror. Something with a lot of blood. Kyuubi smiled evilly. I wish it would happen to me too. Something like Jack and Rose, Naruto sighed dreamily. What? Die of cold in the open sea? The beast mocked. No. Find true love, you know, someone to share my life with when I retire and have a family, a big family. But the truth is that I find it very difficult. I haven't had much luck with girls and just look at me, Naruto pointed to himself. The Kyuubi was tired of Naruto's low self-esteem. Brat, I'm not encouraging you or anything, but I'm serious, you're blonde and blue-eyed, any girl would fall in love with you, you just have to have a little more confidence. I have faith. I'm not talking about that kind of confidence. You have confidence in your body, you have confidence in your combat skills, but you don't have confidence in yourself, you feel inferior to others, you are afraid of failure and that makes you look as someone less capable even though he is so skilled. The fox sighed. Well, changing the subject, have you already managed to solve that aura thing that hunters have? Coming out of the daze Naruto replied. Yes, I had an idea. I'm simply going to make a small, thin layer of chakra all over my body, it will be so thin that it will be imperceptible, but I need to learn to control my chakra. I need excellent chakra control. Chakra, more than Grandma Tsunade's. You better do it quickly, because you have less than a year left. It would be very strange if in a fight with one of your companions one of them carelessly hurt you and it was noticed that he hurt you when it shouldn't be that way. Yes, that would be bad. There would be a lot of questions later. I wouldn't want them to find out that I use a different type of energy. The aura problem is something Naruto found a solution to. Hunters have a protective barrier around their body that prevents them from any harm, of course, until their aura is broken. Then they will be unprotected. Naruto has no such protection. So he could be injured and seriously affected if he were to be careless. Luckily, that's the only problem. The chakra passes through the aura readers. They are so similar that they confuse each other. So, problem solved, Naruto thought with a proud smile. You still need to find a weapon, the Kyuubi mentioned. And another new one begins. Naruto had this problem too. He knew how to use a variety of weapons. So he put off this problem for later, thinking that he could solve it on the way. It doesn't matter, I will use the saber I have, no problem. But later I will take care of my weapon. One day I will have a weapon that will be my trademark, my personal seal, and when they tell my story they will say, he was a man tall, about 2 meters, with wild blonde hair and fierce eyes, and with his characteristic sword, the. You should melt down some of your kunai and make them a single piece of metal. Then, find a blacksmith who will forge you a sword with that material. It is the best metal for your weapon, since it is the only one that can withstand the influence of chakra for a long time. He suggested the Kyuubi to Naruto. I had already thought about it, but I think the kunai will be useful for something else. So I'm not going to do that. Naruto replied, as he had the feeling that something important was going to happen soon, and he wanted to be prepared. Well, I think I'm going to go to sleep. Tomorrow I'll go visit the Malachite sisters. They are recovering very quickly. In 4 months, their bodies no longer have a trace of the second-degree burns they suffered. The blonde said, impressed by the twins' healing power. His aura is incredible, although you would have been cured in a week. The Kyuubi reminded him, grudgingly admiring the stamina of the bearer of it. Yes. I don't like to boast. Naruto said, with false modesty. In fact, he was proud of his regenerative ability, which had saved his life on more than one occasion. That's a damn lie, and you know. The fox replied, sarcastically. He knew Naruto's personality very well, and knew that he liked to show off his abilities. Naruto got to his bed and covered himself with the covers. Before closing his eyes, he had a question to ask his tenant. Hey, Kyuubi, he called, with a sleepy voice. What do you want, brat? The fox answered, tiredly. He was tired of Naruto's questions, which always interrupted his rest. Am I doing well? Am I living my life well? Naruto asked him, sincerely. At times, he felt confused and lost, not knowing what his purpose in the world was. Quote. No one can know if you are living your life well, but you are doing the best you can, and that is the best one can do. The Kyuubi answered him, wisely. Despite his mocking tone. In a hospital room you could hear the constant noise of an animated conversation. The sound was so loud that it bothered even the other patients, but that did not affect those responsible for that noise. That hour was theirs and they were going to enjoy it at the end. Maximum. And I had the most intense stomach pain I've ever felt in my life. I was in the bathroom all day, and that girls is why it happened to me reading the expiration date of a product very carefully, Naruto explained with a nervous laughter. Ha. Naruto, are you serious? How is it possible that you didn't realize that the product was expired? Melanie mocked. Yes, Naruto. I mean, you were the one who bought that container. How is it possible that you didn't know when it was going to expire? Miltiades asked with interest. Girls, I was wasting time. My training was waiting for me. I couldn't stop for something as trivial as reading the product's deadline. I just grabbed the first thing in my refrigerator and left. Naruto excused himself, trying to explain himself, but even he was still laughing at his own story. And when the laughter stopped, the three looked at themselves with a smile. Even in the silence you could see their spirits rise. None of them wanted to break the silence that had settled between them. But suddenly Melanie's face became serious. Melanie's deep and authoritative voice broke the ice. So, you're working for Junior. Naruto felt a chill run down his spine upon hearing those words. He knew that Melanie wasn't joking or trying to find out something out of curiosity. I've always worked for him, Naruto stated without hesitation. He didn't mean that, Miltiades said with a conciliatory tone. Yes, I know what you mean. I work for Junior in his clandestine activities, Naruto admitted with resignation. And you are okay? The long-haired girl asked with concern. I'm fine, Naruto lied with difficulty. No lo estás, Miltiades insisted firmly. Don't worry about me. Although that time was the first time I killed, it didn't affect me much. Death is no stranger to me, Naruto said trying to smile. The two sisters looked at each other and nodded. They knew very well what Naruto was like. They had seen him grow into a strong and intelligent young man, but also lonely and rebellious. They had supported him through his difficult times and loved him like a younger brother. That's why they couldn't accept that he was involved in something as dangerous and dark as Junior's work. The blonde clapped his hands to dispel the tense atmosphere, changing the subject. Have you heard? I'm going to Beacon. The two sisters widened their eyes when they heard that news. Beacon Academy was a prestigious school for talented young hunters, where a personalized education adapted to each student was offered. She was the dream of many young people like Naruto, but she was also very competitive and demanding. Yes, we already know, said the short-haired girl with emotion. We are very proud of you. Yes, I'm surprised you're going to leave next year, said the long-haired girl wistfully. I thought you were going to stay with us all your life. Naruto looked down embarrassed. I'm sorry, girls, this is something I had planned a long time ago. Then the sister closest to him, Melanie, took the blonde's hand and squeezed it tightly. Do it well, Naruto, and you will stand out. Throughout this year that we have known you, you have always done your best. Naruto felt a lump in his throat when he heard those words full of affection and trust. And then the hand of the other sister, Malachite, touched the blonde's shoulder. She had gotten up to approach him, and spoke in his ear. She's right, you're going to stand out, you always do. I don't know what kind of life you've led, but all that time we've spent with you we enjoyed it, so, every time you have a problem, call us and we will come quickly to help you, don't forget. Make us proud. The young blonde's eyes began to water, but he refused to let go of his tears. Thank you, he said tremblingly. The Malachite sisters just smiled silently and watched the young blonde trying not to cry and pretending to be strong, and they simply hugged him. -3 months later. Hey Junior, why did you call me? Said an exasperated Naruto. Boy, today I can say that you officially studied at the Imperio Academy, Junior mentioned with a smug smile, waving a manila envelope. The young blonde opened his eyes when he heard that news. Finally his papers arrived. Yes, your papers have arrived, so congratulations, Junior said, extending the envelope. The Uzumaki took the manila envelope that Junior handed him, and when he opened it he reviewed the documents carefully. It seemed that everything was in order. And this is safe? Naruto asked. Very sure, Junior responded. My contact works as director at the Imperio Academy. He made a new file at the institution, and as I understand it, you studied there and graduated at the age of 13. Even if they investigate it, the documentation supports that you really trained there. I guess this is where our contract ends, said Naruto as he continued reading his documents, trying to find any irregularities. Yes, but first, one last job and we're done here, said Junior with a serious tone. The young blonde stopped reading and simply stood there, crossing his arms, waiting for Junior to continue. A week ago a mafia boss was captured by the police with the help of some hunters, and they are pressuring him to inform on all his companions. Unfortunately he has known me for years and knows my true identity, Junior sighed tiredly. So you want me to release him? Asked the young blonde, guessing what Junior wanted. Unfortunately, Junior didn't want to free that man. No. I want you to kill him, Junior said coldly. A dead man doesn't talk. You do this and we'll be even. Naruto remained silent and expressionless. He doesn't like killing innocent people for money or revenge. But he could not refuse to comply with the order of his client and consoled himself by thinking that the person he wanted to kill was just another criminal. It will be done tonight, Naruto finally said. See you tomorrow, Junior. Once that was said, the Uzumaki began to walk out the door. Junior just watched Naruto's back in silence. I will send the information to your scroll in an hour, so wait for my results. Naruto walked through the streets of Bale, heading to his apartment, with his hands behind his head and waving to the few passers-by who were there at that time of night. The city was illuminated by the lights of buildings and advertising signs, creating a contrast with the dark sky. Naruto felt a mixture of excitement and boredom for the last mission that Junior had given him. Come on, boy, this is the last mission. I hope it is something interesting. All the previous ones have been very easy, said the Kyuubi, the nine-tailed beast that lived inside Naruto. Although the missions that Naruto had undertaken on Junior's behalf seemed impressive if only counted, the truth was that they had not posed any challenge for him. Naruto wished that some hunter would cross his path and offer him an exciting battle, but so far none of those fools had shown up. It was as if the battles eluded him. I don't think so. It will be the same as the others. It's not that I'm complaining, but the truth is that I would like at least one of these missions to require some effort or a decent fight, Naruto sighed regretfully. And have you thought about what you are going to do if this thing of being a hunter doesn't work out? The Kyuubi asked him curiously. Naruto stopped in the middle of the street and thought of a response for his tenant. He then smiled and said, I can always be the king of the world, he replied. Next time we will see an action movie, the Kyuubi said sarcastically. Slash dash slash. A man was in a prison cell, sitting quietly reading a book. He didn't look more than 35 years old, he had black hair and blue eyes, and his body was thin and not very muscular. It was Lane Blue, one of the mafia leaders who had been captured a week ago. The police had interrogated him incessantly, trying to get him to reveal the identity of his accomplice, but he had remained firm and had not said a word. Time to turn off the lights, an officer's voice came over the loudspeaker. Already. But it's not yet 10 at night, Lane complained, leaving the book on the table and lying down on the bed. She tried to fall asleep, but it was difficult. The prison beds were hard and uncomfortable, and the noise of the other prisoners did not allow him to relax. Suddenly, he felt a hand forcefully covering his mouth. She opened her eyes with a start and saw a shadow looming over him. She wanted to scream and defend herself, but the intruder was stronger and faster than him. Lane felt a cold blade stab into her chest, cutting through her aura like it was paper. She struggled with all her might, but it was useless. His attacker had him immobilized and gave him no respite. Lane realized she was dying. Her blood was spilling across the bed and her breathing was becoming weaker and weaker. She didn't understand who the murderer was or why she had chosen him. Maybe he was a rival of the mafia, or a corrupt cop, or just plain crazy. It did not matter. It was too late to find out. Lane felt a chill run through her entire body. He felt calm, relaxed, sleepy. He no longer felt pain or fear. He just wanted to sleep, sleep forever. And so, Lane Blue closed her eyes never to open them again. Slash dash slash. Look at this friend, look at how I am. Thus exclaimed a young blonde man with blue eyes in front of a full-length mirror, while making various poses to admire his figure. He had spent 2 years training hard to become a hunter, a protector of humanity against the creatures of Grimm. How long are you going to continue with this? It's downright annoying, a harsh voice in his mind reproached him. It was the nine-tailed fox. The fox could not stand his guest's vain behavior, and preferred him to concentrate on his mission. But look at me, this is impressive, Naruto replied, ignoring the fox. He was very proud of his physical progress, which had made him go from being a small, skinny boy to a 15-year-old young man, 5 feet tall, who had a well-built body, with well-defined muscles and smooth skin. Tanned. The blonde was also very happy because they had accepted his false documents and in a week he would attend Beacon Academy, a prestigious hunter school. The young man with blonde hair turned away from the mirror that reflected his smiling face and went to the bed of his small apartment, where he had left his new hunter's clothing. It was an elegant and sober outfit, which gave it an air of professionalism and distinction. What is this? The fox asked in disbelief, looking at the clothes with disdain. Is this your hunter's clothing? It looks like a waiter's uniform. A white long-sleeved shirt, a black sleeveless jacket, dark gloves, a black tie and pants of the same color. Even the shoes are black and pointed, exclaimed the nine-tailed fox. Yes, I really like this type of clothing, it has style, the blonde responded proudly, ignoring his prisoner's mockery. Also, it's not a simple waiter's uniform. These clothes are designed to be flexible and resistant. Look at this jacket, he said, pointing to the black garment that was spread on his bed. It has silicon carbide discs, dyes ceramics with their corresponding laminates, which provide excellent body armor. It's sewn between the fabric and the lining, so it's practically an anti-impact vest. Although the blow will be very painful, he admitted, grimacing. The fox simply made a disapproving snort at his jailer's nonsense. He didn't care what the blonde said. Well, I have to prepare. Today will be my last day of work, because I will take advantage of this week to send all my things to Beacon, the blonde announced, with an excited smile. You're very excited, the QB commented, sarcastically. Of course I'm excited. I'm going to a hunter academy, where everyone must be incredibly strong. I mean, they trained their entire lives for that moment, and even though I've faced guys with aura, they didn't have any formal training. I'm dying of excitement, my heart is pumping hot blood throughout my body, I'm hungry for battle. So get ready, Beacon, Naruto Uzumaki is coming for you. The blonde exclaimed, raising his arms in triumph. Slash dash slash. Surprise. The young Rubio was speechless when he opened the door of the club. He did not expect such a reception when he entered the establishment. Inside there was only the work staff, the Malachite sisters, Junior, the head of the club, and some waiters who served customers. Hey, what are you waiting for? Come here, come in quickly, Melanie said to the young Rubio with a malicious smile. The blonde simply walked inside the club, still dazed. He didn't understand what was happening. What is all this? Naruto asked curiously. It's your farewell, Melanie replied ironically. We're going to say goodbye to you with a party, so let's enjoy today. The blonde didn't pay more attention to what Melanie was saying because he heard some footsteps and it was his boss Junior who was approaching him. Very good, boy, said Junior with a deep voice. It seems like you're leaving today, but we weren't going to let you go just like that. Today is your day, so enjoy. But won't this cause damage to profits? Naruto asked unsurely. Don't worry about that, Junior assured him. The club will continue working without you, but you're going to celebrate there. You're going to have a private party there, he said, pointing to a secluded spot in the corner of the club. Club full of furniture and a table in the center. Naruto looked where Junior was pointing and saw a sign that said, "Congratulations on your exit." He felt confused and upset by such an unexpected and unfair surprise. It seemed like they wanted to make him cry with emotion. Naruto let himself be carried away by the festive atmosphere of the bar, not really caring if he wasn't expecting this. In fact, it was a pleasant surprise to see his friends gathered to celebrate his last day in this job as hunters. His farewell party was in a corner of the place, while Junior tended the bar with a forced smile. The blonde couldn't drink alcohol, since he was a minor, but that didn't stop him from enjoying the atmosphere. So that's your hunter suit? Miltiades asked Naruto curiously. This is my hunter suit, the blue-eyed man responded naturally. It's practically that of a waiter or a bartender, like Junior, Melanie argued ironically. The blonde simply gave them a flat look and replied. Yes, I know, but it gives me elegance and also has style. I can't ask for more than that. They are two winning combinations. So you're going to learn to be a hunter or for a job as Beacon's butler? Melanie scoffed. Yes, enough, please, Naruto said tiredly and a little embarrassed. Come on, a hunter is supposed to have style. He's supposed to look incredibly tough, the long-haired girl said enthusiastically. But what about what I'm wearing? I think it looks good, Naruto defended himself. I don't argue, you look very handsome, Melanie said sincerely. I just expected something more tactical and extravagant, I mean, being you. Then the blonde smiled proudly. That's the beauty of all this. This is not a simple waiter's suit. Look. This suit has a high-impact silicone coating. The blonde suddenly stopped when he heard the sound of a muffled scream. He looked for the source of the sound only to see that it was Junior, and in front of him was a blonde girl, grabbing his balls. Junior looked like he was in quite a bit of pain, so Naruto immediately went to help him. Naruto snuck up to his boss, took the girl's hand and squeezed it tightly. She gasped and turned, surprised by the contact. Naruto could appreciate her better at that moment. She was a teenager with a well-built body, wearing a brown short-sleeved blouse with gold edges, over a low-cut yellow t-shirt, with her symbol in black, which resembled a burning heart. She was wearing a brown belt with a buckle, a purse, and a brown cloth underneath her, a white one that covered the back of her hip. The same burning heart appeared on this cloth, but here it was yellow and gold. She was wearing black shorts, as well as an orange scarf around her neck. She also wore tall boots, with a small platform. Under these she had orange socks, but she hid them with different heights. On her left leg there was a gray band. She wore black, fingerless gloves and had long blonde hair that became lighter at the ends. It fell haphazardly on her shoulders. On the top of her head she had a lock of hair that was separated from the rest. She had a pale complexion and lilac eyes. And Naruto only had something to say to himself in a low voice, and in his mind, "My Kami, how beautiful." "Sorry to bother you, miss," Naruto said in a kind and calm voice. "But you have to stop right there. You are causing a scene and this is very bad for the establishment." "Mind your own business, Blondie," she responded already with a frown and arms crossed, and Naruto simply sighed. "I'm sorry, miss," he said. "But I work as a guard here, although technically I already resigned," he added, rambling for a moment. "Leaving that aside, it is my duty to stop any riot or the start of one, so please I ask you cautiously to leave the establishment." "And if I say no, what will you do?" she asked defiantly, with a confident smile that Naruto found irritating. The blonde simply sighed again. "Then I'm afraid I'll have to get her out of here." The girl simply smiled even more. She bumped fists. "All right, then I hope you're prepared to lose some teeth, buddy." Naruto stared at her, thinking, really? I don't believe what I'm seeing. Is this girl looking for trouble on purpose? Well, that's fine. I'll please her. A roar shook the nightclub, causing the wooden doors to break off their hinges and fly in all directions, shattering. A human body had hit them with such force that it had shattered them and had fallen on the main street, in front of the club. On the asphalt, a figure moved with difficulty, trying to stand up. She was a blonde girl, with lilac eyes, who had tried to cause trouble at the club. Her clothes were torn, showing her bruised and bloody skin. Her breathing was labored and a purple bruise adorned her right cheek. The young girl was exhausted. She could barely keep her balance, but still she continued to challenge her opponent with her gaze. "Don't get up, please. You can barely stand. You don't need to do this," said a calm voice, with a hint of amusement. The voice came from a young blonde man, with blue eyes, who was standing at the threshold of the club, where there used to be a door. Unlike the girl, he did not have any visible wounds on his clothes or face. He looked as cool as a lettuce and, to add to the image of him, he had his hands in his pockets. Shut up. I can still go on. The girl spoke defiantly, ignoring Naruto's advice. Naruto shook his head, sympathetic. Miss, I ask you to please stop. I don't want to continue hurting you, said the blonde, sincerely. But, even after everything Naruto said, the girl insisted on continuing fighting. With all the effort in the world, she got up and walked, unsteadily, towards the blonde. The Uzumaki simply sighed and prepared for combat. You're good, your combat style is brutal, Naruto smiled arrogantly. But that won't be enough for you. You are very weak. The blonde girl grunted in annoyance. Naruto's smug smile made her angry. She stood on guard, ready to resume the battle. But suddenly, in the distance, she heard someone shouting a name. It couldn't be distinguished well, Naruto couldn't recognize the name. However, the girl did. She stopped and turned around, looking for the source of the scream. She saw a motorcycle parked on the sidewalk. Without thinking twice, she headed towards it, leaving Naruto behind her. You were lucky. I won't be so kind next time, said the girl, before getting on the motorcycle and putting on her helmet. The blonde simply snorted, amused, and watched her walk away. What a farewell, said a young blonde man, sighing. No way, brat. To be honest, the evening ended on a high note. You had a good fight. The girl knew how to fight, said the QB, remembering the battle in the club. I have to admit, it was very good. But nothing I couldn't handle, Naruto said, confidently. Once the conflict was over, the blonde turned around and entered the establishment, since his party was not over yet. There were plenty of pretty girls and drinks waiting for him inside, girls he wouldn't have the courage to talk to, and drinks he can't drink. Naruto smiled, thinking that this night would be unforgettable. I always wanted to get on one of these, what were they called? Bullhead. They are very spacious inside and very well designed. I can't believe these things actually fly. How does it work? This is metal, they weigh a lot, why didn't I get on one of these? Shut up. The QB shouted exasperatedly at his jailer. Since he entered this ship he has not stopped chattering about anything. I'm sorry, I'm excited and I waited for this moment for a long time. I'm sorry, I'm excited, Naruto replied awkwardly. Naruto Uzumaki was excited and nervous at the same time. He had waited for this moment for 2 years, and he was finally going to fulfill his dream of going to Beacon Academy, the prestigious monster hunting academy of the Kingdom of Bale. He had prepared everything in advance. He had his clothes, his sword that he never returned, and his black pistol with a built-in silencer. He had no luggage because he had sent it to Beacon a few days ago along with a letter explaining why he wanted to study there. Suddenly a small jolt was felt, that was the sign that the bullhead had reached its destination. Open double angle bracket all passengers, please leave close double angle bracket. Naruto quickly approached the exit and looked forward with curiosity and impatience. His eyes filled with amazement as he saw the wonderful view that stretched before him from the bullhead. This was nothing like he had imagined. The pictures didn't do it justice. Beacon Academy was an impressive castle, a majestic structure that looked like something out of a fairy tale or an epic movie. It had tall, pointed towers that towered over everyone like white giants. Thick, sturdy walls that surrounded the perimeter like an impenetrable fortress. Large, bright windows that reflected the sun's rays like brilliant diamonds. Huge and ornate doors that invited entry like magical portals. Green and flowery gardens that adorned the facades like natural masterpieces. Crystalline and sonorous fountains that watered the plants like heavenly music. Majestic and imposing statues that represented heroic or legendary scenes as historical monuments. Waving flags and distinctive insignia showing the colors and symbols. The blonde inhaled deeply, filling his lungs with the air that enveloped him. He looked around in amazement and curiosity. So this is the place where I'm going to live and train for the next 4 years. It's not bad at all. I have free food and lodging, and best of all, Naruto couldn't take his eyes off the wonders. What it saw, although Beacon was an impressive place in every way, it had nothing to do with what his eyes now beheld. Why are all the women here so beautiful? Naruto exclaimed with admiration. Inside his mind, Kyubi sighed in exasperation. She sometimes thought that Naruto had an attention deficit disorder. Stop wasting time, idiot. I hope you're ready, brat. Are you? Yes, the blonde smiles and put his hands on his hips and responded, the time has come.